Football for you from the upper Midwest, the 4-6 Bears, the 9-1 Vikings. And now welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. I'm Joe Buck. That's Troy Aikman. Pam Oliver is coming right up. So the Vikings are 9-1. They're running away with the NFC North. Brett Favre told us when I signed on in mid-August, I knew that it could be good. I had no idea it could be this good, and it's been really good for the Vikings.
It's been really good, and head coach Brad Childress said they haven't even played their most complete game, which is really pretty scary. But the thing about the Minnesota Vikings obviously has been the play of Brett Favre, and what has impressed me the most has been the fact that he's only thrown 3 interceptions. If he can do that, protect the football, and they run the ball the way that they do, and then the great defense, I mean, this is a team that is awfully difficult to beat.
Let's stay with the quarterback playing on the other side. Obviously, the story is Jay Cutler. He has tied a career high for interceptions in a season with 18. It has not gone the way they had planned when they picked him up from the Broncos.
No, and he's not played well, and he knows that. He'd be the first to tell you, but there's a lot of other players around him that need to help him out, and one would be being able to run the football. That's what the Bears have always prided themselves on. They have not run the ball well this season, and they're not going to run the ball well here today. They're playing the Minnesota Vikings, one of the best in terms of stopping the run. If the Bears have any opportunity to win this game today, it's going to be because of Jay Cutler playing his best game of the season and throwing the ball well.
For more on the Bears situation, down to the field and Pam Oliver.
Well, Joe, teammate support seems to run high for Cutler. I spoke to Olin Cruz. He said, why wouldn't we support him? We don't have that kind of locker room that splinters. Devin Hester echoed that. He said, everybody has played poorly at times. We do not point fingers, and if we fall, we're going to fall together. Back to you.
All right, Pam, thank you, and we welcome everybody into a loud venue. This is about as loud as it gets across the NFL now, and they're excited about the way Brad Childress has this team playing. We'll get an early look at the offense for the Vikings. Percy Harvin is waiting to return the kick. He has taken 2 all the way this season. This one is angled toward the corner, and a good job by Robbie Gould of avoiding a jolt from Percy Harvin to start the afternoon. Well, here comes the old guy, who's not playing like an old guy, 40 years old. Troy gave you some of the statistics at the top. Percy Harvin is the electrifying rookie, very good offensive line, and really an embarrassment of riches for Brett Favre with where he can go with the football.
And you look at some of the players that he has to throw the football to. Take Sidney Rice, for example. I mean, a guy who until this year hadn't shown a lot, some of that because of injury, but I think Brett Favre has brought out a lot of potential from some of these young players.
Starting with a throw, and it's a safe throw out of the backfield. That's Adrian Peterson. Zachary Bowman able to hang on, a 14-yard catch and run, and Adrian Peterson keeps adding to his single season high. That's his 26th reception. We look at the defense, and a defense that all of a sudden is in the category of pretty average for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, and I think that over the last couple of games, for the most part, they've been better. I mean, the couple of games they had that were very poor against Cincinnati, against Arizona. They know, however, if they're going to have a chance to win this game, it really falls on the shoulders of this defense.
Another throw from Favre, who slings it for Sidney Rice. 2 good plays to start for the Vikings. That's good for 13. Here's Kurt Menefee with an early game break.
Well, similar situations, different results. Redskins down, 4th and 1, late seconds, incomplete pass, so they lose 27-24 at Philadelphia. Falcons down. Chris Redman in as the backup quarterback, completes it in the closing seconds, and they lead Tampa 19-17, pending the extra point. Roddy White scoring to put them ahead. Joe, Troy, and Pam.
All right, Kurt. Keep an eye out for that final. It's a first down for Minnesota, and it's a handoff to Peterson running right. Got to the edge and takes it to the Chicago side of midfield, where Corey Graham made the stop for the Bears. Talk about the numbers for Chicago. They are 13th overall in total defense. They're 23rd against the run, which is bad news when you're taking on a team that has Adrian Peterson as its top back, who is now over 1,000 yards for the season. He's done that every year he's been in the NFL.
Well, in years past with Adrian Peterson, he was the focal point, and defenses would come in and say he's the guy that we've got to slow down. That's still the case, only now Minnesota much more balanced with Brett Favre, and they can beat you through the air, something they couldn't do in years past.
Quick setup and throw, and that pass was tipped by Hillenmeyer. Got back, got his hand up, pass intended for Berrien, and just like that, it's 3rd and 7.
In fact, Lovie Smith, in visiting with him, and when you look at Minnesota offensively, you say, okay, you know, how are we going to match up against these guys? What do we need to take away? And he was real clear. Adrian Peterson will be the best player on the field come Sunday, and we've got to somehow find a way to slow him down, something that's easier said than done.
We welcome in a new audience, and you check in for a 3rd down and 7. Opening possession of the game. 2 first downs. Now on 3rd down, wide open, it's the rookie Harvin. 1st down, Minnesota at the Chicago 32. 17 yards as Percy Harvin has his 37th catch in his rookie season.
This is what the Bears like to do. You're going to see these linebackers. They're showing that they're going to come on the blitz. They want to try to hold up the guards, but the Vikings sift through that very well. They give Brett Favre great protection in the pocket, and then it's just a matter of finding Percy Harvin in the middle of the field, and that's the area that Percy Harvin has really exposed here in this season as a young rookie wide receiver.
Not a big guy, 5'11", 184, but stays on his feet, doesn't go down easily. Got 17. 3 first downs on this possession. Penalty flag on the play as Adrian Peterson lost 2. And we'll see who this one's against. Our referee today is Walt Coleman.
Offside, 97. Defense, 5-yard penalty, still 1st down.
That's Mark Anderson, who came across too early, and it's 1st and 5. This is a game the Chicago Bears need to have. They keep talking about, well, we've got a 6-game season. They're probably just trying to make themselves feel better as they check in at 4 and 6. But this is a game that if they have any hope of doing anything and avoid missing the playoffs for the 3rd straight season, they've got to win this game. Handoff is to Peterson. Ball comes out. That's what the Bears needed as the fumble is recovered by Chicago and Alex Brown. Hunter Hillenmeyer knocked it out, and Adrian Peterson, who has now 5 fumbles on the season, coughs it up.
You see Eric Bieniemy, the running backs coach, talking to him. They stand him up, and this is where he's vulnerable. You said it, Joe. He has put the ball on the ground a lot. He does everything so well, but he has not done a very good job throughout his career of protecting the football. They stood him up there. They immediately go after the ball. Hillenmeyer knocks it out, and Alex Brown there to make a play.
That's 14 fumbles over the last 2 seasons for Adrian Peterson. The most across the NFL by a running back. Quick setup and throw, and the pass is complete. That's Earl Bennett. Good for 7. We look at this offense, Troy, for Chicago. The focus is on Jay Cutler. The backs and receivers. How do the Chicago Bears get Jay Cutler into a rhythm early in this game?
Well, they do some of the things like what we just saw here on 1st down. Some quick passes and try to get him feeling a little bit more confident than what he has shown here in recent weeks. Last week against Philadelphia, had some open receivers, but he's just putting too much pressure on himself and trying to guide the football, and that's why he's not throwing it real well.
And this play goes nowhere but backward. Another one to Earl Bennett, loss of 2. Cedric Griffin was out there to make the tackle. Antoine Winfield is inactive for the 5th consecutive game with an injury to his right foot. Up front, though, this defensive line is as good as it gets.
They're pretty solid. And then, of course, the pass rush with Jared Allen and the inside push that they get from Kevin Williams. You mentioned Antoine Winfield missing another game today. This team has been healthy for the most part. He's the only defensive starter to miss a game this year.
3rd down and 5. Just get the play away, and the pass is for Olsen. The tight end won't get it. Griffin with help from Chad Greenway. And a gain of 3, and after the fumble and the recovery by Chicago, the offense goes 3 and out.
Well, you block him up and you give your quarterback a chance, but you run Olsen on a route to the sideline to where when he catches it, he still has to be able to turn upfield and get about 3 more yards before he picks up the first down. I think you've got to call something a little deeper, or at least Greg Olsen's got to get a little more depth on that route so that if you complete it, it's a first down.
Ugly punt off the side of the foot, and it checks up, goes backward, down by the Bears outside the 25. That by Brad Maynard was just a 30-yard punt, and it's down at the 26 by Jamar Williams, and it'll be the second series for Brett Favre. The numbers are unbelievable. He has the top quarterback rating in the NFL, and he's coming off a game in which he completed 88% of his throws against Seattle. Yet another new audience just joined us. Welcome in. Vikings move the ball, but an Adrian Peterson fumble on their first possession. There we are with Troy's picture bigger than Pam's picture and my picture. You want to know the pecking order on this crew. And after the fumble, the Chicago Bears went 3 and out. Now the Vikings get it back, starting at their own 26. Changed it at the line and slings it to Sidney Rice, who had to go in and out of his hands. Good pass by Brett Favre, but incomplete, 2nd and 10, and Lance Briggs banged up on that last play.
Well, you're going to see Corey Graham right here, number 21. He's on the slot. He had shown that he was going to come on the blitz, and that's when Favre pulled out and audible to a pass, and he had the chance there to Sidney Rice. He just failed to make the catch. I think that's some of what Brett Favre has given this offensive unit.
Lance Briggs needs help to get off the field. We'll take a break here in Minneapolis.
Bye, Bags. We love you. We love you.
And walked off the field. He looked to be okay. Hyperextended his left knee when he went up to try and knock down that pass from Favre. On first down, it was incomplete to Rice, 2nd and 10. Play action from Favre, who rolls right and airs it out. Sidney Rice downfield, and some contact, no flag, incomplete. Coverage down there by Charles Tillman, who was stride for stride with Sidney Rice.
It was awfully good coverage there by Tillman. You're going to see Sidney Rice. He gets up on him, but he had the whole middle of the field. The safety had come up, and so there was all this area right in through here that if Favre had been able to lead him more to the middle and let Sidney Rice run away from Tillman, you got an opportunity then to make a play.
It's 3rd down and 10.
Sidney Rice, I mean, they talk about him, and in fact, even Brett Favre will say, hey, he's not going to outrun anybody. Now, he may not, but he's faster than he gets credit for.
Favre underneath. It's Chester Taylor. And Chester Taylor is wrapped up short of first down yardage by Corey Graham. And so now 3 and out on the other side. And doing that against a Vikings offense that's number 2 in the NFL, averaging over 30 points per game, which really takes the pressure off this good Minnesota Vikings defense. There's Brad Childress. He's already felt the Favre effect with a contract extension that takes him through 2013.
And he can probably thank Darrell Bella, the offensive coordinator, for Favre coming here.
Fair catch and a muff punt, but getting back on top of it is Devin Hester. A 33-yard punt. We'll take a break, come back, and tell you more about the Chicago offense. First quarter, no score.
Drinkability.
There's the NFC North. Vikings leading the way at 9-1. They took apart Green Bay in their 2 meetings. In fact, the guy out at right end for the Minnesota Vikings almost single-handedly took them apart, Jared Allen, with his 7.5 sacks against Green Bay. He's number 1 in the NFC with 10.5 sacks. And he is part of that very good defensive front for the Vikings as Matt Forte carried it. And Pat Williams made the stop, a gain of 2.
Interesting what Chicago tried to do there. They went 3 wide receivers hoping they could get Pat Williams off the field and that they could run the ball. But that happens a lot against the Minnesota Vikings. So not always when a team goes to 3 wide will they take him out, especially on early downs. And he was in on that first down run and made a nice play.
2nd and 8 and a toss to Forte running left. Little room to run for Forte, and then he lunges forward. He's a half-yard short of a first down. So Antoine Winfield, pictured there, is inactive, as is Anthony Herrera, starting right guard for the Vikings. On offense, Artis Hicks makes the start there, and Desmond Clark out with a bad neck for the Bears.
Oh, Winfield having missed the last several games, and it looked like he was going to play today, but he had a setback in practice. And as well as this team has been playing, they just don't want to risk not having him down the stretch in December and then into January.
Here is Forte, and it depends on the spot. Didn't look like he got it. He did not. And this tremendous run defense holds on 3rd and less than 1. Now a penalty flag comes in, and it could be for too much celebration. Benny Sapp was back on the Chicago side of the ball and was dancing around, and they threw a flag awfully late. So who knows what that call is. We'll get it momentarily from Walt Coleman. It certainly looked like Forte was stopped short of the first down. We're going to get a measurement for that part of it, but no call yet on what the penalty is, as I guess they'll assess after they figure out if Forte got enough for the first down. But he certainly looked to be short. They'll bring the chains out.
You see the middle of that offensive line, they just fail to get any kind of push. That's been the thing that has hurt them throughout this season. No interior push, from the guard's position, and you're not going to get a lot of movement facing this Minnesota team inside, as we talked about with Pat Williams and Kevin Williams, and they fail to pick up that first down. And we'll find out now what the penalty was about.
They act like they're not going to announce it. But he's looking at the Minnesota side, so it was against Chicago,
illegal
and they'll just decline
substitution,
it.
95 on the offense, failed to report as an eligible receiver. That penalty is declined. 4th down.
So an awfully late flag, but it was for Anthony Adams, not reporting as an eligible receiver. So that's what the flag was for, not on Sapp for celebrating back on the Chicago side of the ball. And it's 2 3-and-outs offensively for the Bears here in this first quarter. Raynaud is waiting deep for the punt from Maynard. This one is much better. And it takes a good Chicago bounce and will go out of bounds inside the 5. So a 30-yard effort his first time, this time for Maynard as they mark it at the 4, 55 yards. Minnesota has it, no score.
Korea Taste by Braun, designed to make a difference. And by Hyundai, 'tis the season to fill your commute with comfort and joy during Hyundai holidays.
Vikings will start at their own 4-yard line. 3rd possession for Minnesota. First one ended on an Adrian Peterson fumble, then a punt. And now where's this one headed? Brett Favre hands off. Peterson fights his way out across the 5, knocked down at the 8. Nick Roach on the stop. And for Brett Favre, who is 22-10 in his career against the Chicago Bears, but not good against Lovie Smith, it's 2nd down and 6.
And we talk about Brett coming into this game and having played against him and stood opposite of him back when he was winning league MVPs and I was still playing, and then going back and studying him over the last several years, and then today. He's still doing the same things. You couldn't tell me that he has slowed down one bit from where he was 15 years ago. Pretty remarkable.
Another carry, and well played by the Chicago defense as Adrian Peterson gets nothing. Tommy Harris was in there, as was the strong safety Afalava. And it's third down coming up. Brett Favre won 3 straight MVP awards. 95, 96, 97. The 96 year was when the Green Bay Packers won the Super Bowl. 97, he shared it with Barry Sanders, and he could very well win his 4th. The same city where the American League MVP resides, Joe Mauer from Major League Baseball. Sprinting out to his right, wide open, is Sidney Rice for a Vikings first down. Yard completion on third down.
Well, Chicago going with a 4-man rush. They move the pocket with Brett Favre, and this is pretty easy. I mean, he's got Sidney Rice right out in front of him to make the completion after he goes in motion. Because of that, they're not able to get the jam on him like they were on the other receivers. That's one of the reasons why you go to the motion, is to keep a defensive back from being able to come up and jam you. But he gets a free release with Favre moving out to his side, and a nice first down.
Handoff is not given. Now it's dropped off to Chester Taylor. Fake the handoff to Chester, and then Chester good for 10. Go for a game break. Here's Kurt Menefee.
Winners of 5 straight, the San Diego Chargers have indeed been superchargers lately, and looks like they're trying to keep that going. Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates hook up for a 19-yard score, and they're already on top of the Chiefs, 7-0. Go Troy and Pan.
Troy, you stepped out. I read in USA Today where you picked the San Diego Chargers to win the AFC West.
I picked them to go to the Super Bowl, too.
Did you?
I did, back in August.
On first down, Favre trying to set up a screen. He gets it to Chester Taylor. And Briggs makes the stop. Taylor knocked down just shy of midfield, and Favre pops up after getting swallowed up by the Chicago Bear defense, and Alex Brown is the one that's slow getting up.
Well, here's Alex Brown. Brian McKinney, the one trying to slow him down, does not do much of a job on that. He gets a good lick there on Brett Favre, and Alex Brown was, as we saw, he was the slow one getting up as he clutches his right shin.
Stands in and now goes over the middle. Pass is bobbled and dropped by Adrian Peterson.
Well, you mentioned Adrian Peterson and how right now he has a single season high in receptions, and we've still got 4 or 5 games left to go this year. And you hate to credit Brett Favre for everything, but I do think that his numbers are up because Brett is one of those quarterbacks who's very likely to come underneath on the checkdowns. We saw it there in Green Bay when he had Amon Green. There were a number of times Amon Green had 60, 70 receptions in a season. Now, Adrian Peterson isn't to that point, but he definitely gets the running backs involved in this passing game.
Delayed handoff. It's Adrian Peterson, full head of steam, and a first down for the Vikings at the Chicago 36, a 15-yard run.
Adrian Peterson starts off to the right. It's a power play right there, and then he's able to just cut back. Great block there by Nafa'au Tahi to spring Peterson, then on the cutback. And then when he gets out in the open field, I mean, I'd hate to be one of those guys out there trying to stop him. In fact, talking with Lance Briggs and some of these defensive players, it is almost impossible to bring him to the ground one-on-one when he is in the open field.
That was movement by the right guard, Artis Hicks.
False start, 79. Offense, 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
Hicks is making his 19th start at right guard for Minnesota, his first since 2007. Anthony Herrera hadn't missed a start since taking over Game 5 of that 2007 season. He's out with a concussion.
Yeah, they've remained relatively healthy overall. And we talked about on the defensive side of the ball, Antoine Winfield, missing the only defensive starter to miss a game. And there hasn't been many starters miss time here on the offensive side either.
On 1st and 15, Adrian Peterson was patient, found room to run, picked up 8. Kevin Payne on the tackle for the Bears.
Well, some of the things that we're seeing from Minnesota and their ability to run the football and throw the ball are the things that Chicago does not do very well. On that play, Visanthe Shiancoe, a tight end, does a great job of blocking the edge and then allowing Adrian Peterson to run off of that. That's an area where Chicago struggles, is blocking the edge with their tight end game. Also, second and long, able to hand the ball off to Adrian Peterson and keep it in short down and distances. These are all the things that you expect from a good offensive unit.
Second down and 7. Favre gets hit as he let it go, and the pass is incomplete for Percy Harvin. It's 3rd down and 7.
Yeah, and that's something that you really haven't seen a lot of this year, with Brett Favre having an open receiver running up the seam, Percy Harvin, and a throw that just got away from him. I mean, a ball that if Percy Harvin had timed a little bit better, maybe he's able to make that catch. Not an easy catch for him to make. But Brett Favre has been amazingly accurate this year. In fact, last week in that win against Seattle, completed 88% of his passes.
Third down and 7. Favre steps up and slings it wide open as Berrien. First down, Chicago inside the 10.
Chicago completely busts the coverage over to that side. They're in a cover 2 defense, and they're able to get in behind it, but they don't get the corners sloughing on the route. You see that hole in the zone, and you've either got to carry that then with the corner, or you've got to get more help from the safety over the top in order to defense that play. That was about as easy as it gets.
First and goal, a toss. Adrian Peterson running left, nowhere to go to the 5. That's it. This Minnesota team offensively is number 7 in the NFL in the red zone. They score touchdowns 60% of the time. And it's 2nd and goal after Peterson picked up a yard.
Yeah, and then they're going up against a defense in Chicago that is one of the worst in stopping teams once they get inside the red zone. How do you think this will fare?
Yeah, Chicago's 30th red zone defense. How that Bears defense has fallen. 2nd and goal. I formation, and they reverse it to Berrien like he's going to throw, and he lobs it. Incomplete, and they'll throw a flag. Shiancoe, the intended receiver, and Afalava never turned around. Ugly but effective.
Well, a run pass option there.
Pass interference, 24. Defense. Foul occurred in the end zone. Will place the ball at the 1-yard line. First down.
It was a run pass option. Visanthe Shiancoe at tight end. He looks like he's going to block, and then he comes off of that. And Afalava actually is in a pretty good position. Normally they get fooled, and then they're not in very good coverage. But he was there. Berrien taking a big lick at the end of that one. But if Afalava had just turned around, he was there to make a play.
Now 1st and goal from the 1. Peterson gets it. Penalty flag on the play. Peterson just takes it back to the line of scrimmage. And you can see the indication is offside. So they'll get half the distance, and they'll get first down again. And the first quarter has come to an end. We'll get the call from Walt Coleman before we take a break. I hope. Come on, Walt.
Offside, 93. Defense, half the distance to the goal. We will extend the quarter for the defensive foul on the last play.
One of the officials has to run all the way back down the field. He was getting a head start. He was going to win the race and get down to the other end, but now he has to come back, and it'll be first and goal areas. Go all the way down in the other end zone.
Well, hopefully he didn't get his exercise in this morning, because if he did, he's doing double time.
Word on Alex Brown, leg injury. His return is questionable. It's first and goal from the half-yard line for Minnesota, trying to strike first here in a game the Chicago Bears desperately need.
This was always an area of the field when Favre was at Green Bay, especially with Holmgren, to where they would throw it off play action. But when you've got Adrian Peterson, I don't know that you do anything other than just turn and hand him the ball.
Peterson has 11 rushing touchdowns on the season. They do roll right. Favre is in trouble, and down he goes, and a play is made by the rookie Afalava. So the pass interference by Afalava set up the Vikings at the 1. Now Al makes a play, and a 14-yard loss. That's the end of the first. Back after this from your local Fox station. Talking about the presence of Adrian Peterson being able to pound it in from half a yard out, and the Vikings tried to throw it and lost 15 yards on a sack by Afalava, so they have second and goal from the 15.
Yeah, ball that Favre should have been able to throw away and not take that loss.
Now an empty backfield behind Favre, and he goes over the middle. Touchdown, Percy Harvin.
Percy Harvin runs a nice route. He sets up the defender and then cuts across his face for a pretty good lane there for Brett Favre, but Brett does get back to him eventually and is able to fit that in.
For Harvin, his 5th receiving touchdown. Saw the note, 500th total for the future Hall of Famer Brett Favre. So they backed him up, and it turns into a 15-yard touchdown throw from Brett Favre to Percy Harvin. 7-0 Minnesota. Season-long 96-yard drive for the Vikings. Drive that took just under 7 minutes off the clock. Percy Harvin gets the touchdown. And it ends on that 15-yard touchdown throw from Brett Favre, and now the Bears have to try and answer. Danielle Manning on the return. Manning still going. Still going. What a return by Danielle Manning. 44-yard return. That's his longest of the season. He suffered 2 big hits and just kept on trucking. So good starting field position at their own 46 for the Bears, down 7. For the Vikings, for the Bears, nada. Starting at their own 46, down by 7. Khalil Bell, the rookie, is in, and the pass is a quick throw to Greg Olsen. Ball comes out, and they're saying Olsen was down, no fumble. And it's a 6-yard catch for Olsen, the active tight end for the Bears.
You go back and take a look at that touchdown. The Bears are in 2 deep right here. So you've got Percy Harvin, who has to beat that defender, Corey Graham, because he's got the whole middle of the field and an excellent route, sticking him to the outside and then coming underneath. The one area that Corey Graham cannot allow him to go is to the middle of the field. That's the weakness of that defense.
Cutler throws and completes. That's Olsen again. He's to the Minnesota 39, and the Bears have their first down of the game. Here's a game-breaking Kurt.
And the 49ers have their first touchdown of the game against Jacksonville off the play fake Alex Smith. Little easy toss to Vernon Davis, his 9th touchdown reception for the tight end. It's 10-0 Niners on top of the Jaguars in the second quarter. Joe, Troy, and Pan.
49ers need something to happen. They have slipped to 2 games under 500, 4-6.
All right.
Cutler started this game 5 for 5. He throws, and there he is again. That's 3 in a row to the tight end Olsen. who gets 8. Greenway on the tackle for the Vikings.
Well, and that's the one guy that Jay Cutler seems to have confidence in is Greg Olsen. I mean, going back and watching him, when I watch Jay Cutler, I see a quarterback that doesn't have confidence he's going to get protection, number one. And then secondly, he doesn't trust that the receivers are going to be where he expects them to be, with the exception of Greg Olsen. They seem to have developed some chemistry, and that's the guy he looks for, and that's who he's been hitting here on this drive.
Here's a pass that is complete. Catch is made for 6 yards. Aromashadu made the grab, and he is a big body, 6'2", 201, and that's just his 2nd catch of the season, and that was an athletic grab, able to hang on with Griffin on him.
That's a heck of a catch, and that's the guy that Jay Cutler, I think, would like to see playing more than he has been. And Chicago going to a no huddle, not a hurry up, but working from the line of scrimmage on this possession.
Perfect start throwing it for Jay Cutler, and that ends right here as the pass is behind Earl Bennett. You think about how the Jay Cutler era started with the Chicago Bears and the headlines. Picked him up on April 2nd, and the headline started proclaiming him as finally we got the quarterback, and now it has turned, and it has gotten ugly in Chicago for Jay Cutler. But there's so much more to that story, to be fair to Jay Cutler. It's 2nd and 10. Cutler throws, end zone. It is caught by Knox for the touchdown. A flag is down at the 24-yard line. It's against Minnesota. The touchdown will stand, and a perfect throw from Jay Cutler.
Outside, 91, defense. That penalties decline, touchdown.
Yeah, this is what Jay Cutler failed to do last week against Philadelphia with a number of open receivers that would have scored touchdowns. Here he's got Johnny Knox, and it's not bad coverage by Benny Sapp. But you see that Knox gives him a pretty good place to lay the football, and Cutler put it in that corner absolutely perfectly.
24-yard touchdown throw from Jay Cutler, who has his 16th as a Bear, to go with his 18 picks. And with a weight of at least Chicago, if not the football world, on his shoulders, Jay Cutler starts this game that the Bears need to win in Minnesota, 8 for 9. A touchdown throw and a 7-7 game. Touchdown drive was set up by a 44-yard kick return by Danielle Manning. All 6 plays on the drive were passes. Cutler 5 of 6, 54 yards, and then the touchdown to Johnny Knox, the rookie. Having a very good rookie season for Chicago, and now the kick is over the head of Harvin, and he will down it in the end zone. Vikings will start at their 20. Cutler got the touchdown, took another shot, this time from Kevin Williams, and Lovie Smith celebrates a 7-7 tie. Vikings will start at their own 20 in a 7-7 game. Good drive put together by Chicago to answer. And now we'll see what the 8th ranked offense in the NFL can do.
Right over here.
Is to Percy Harvin, running right, showing off his speed, and he's out of bounds inside Chicago territory at the 45. A 35-yard run by the rookie Harvin.
Well, you get the ball into Percy Harvin's hands any way that you can, and you got Artis Hicks, who's going to also pull out, and he does a good job of leading the way. And watch how Percy Harvin kind of sets him up. He starts to the outside, which helps seal that block. It allows Artis Hicks to make a pretty easy block, and then Harvin cutting off of that block. Good execution there by that offensive line.
Longest run by a mile for Harvin this season, 35 yards. And Favre throws. Sidney Rice makes the catch, and he is dragged down, but Rice lunges for a Minnesota first down. We go back to the Chicago touchdown.
Yeah, I just want to show you the job that Kevin Williams does right here at defensive tackle, and Jay Cutler has gotten used to this. I mean, so many times when he drops back, he's taken a hit right underneath the chin. And I can't even begin to tell you how many times he's not seen whoever's caught a touchdown or whoever's caught a reception, for that matter. And he has taken a lot of hits throughout this year. You talk about playing quarterback in this league. It's hard under normal circumstances, darn near impossible when you're getting hit the way he has been.
Bowman coming on a blitz, and the pass incomplete for Schenko. Game break. Here's Kurt.
San Diego and Kansas City, and watch this pass from Phillip Rivers to Malcolm Floyd. Just like that, 53 yards, but he was down at the 1-yard line. That's okay. Next play, Devanian Tomlinson scored. Chargers up 14-7. Joe Troy and Penn.
What note was that? A B flat?
I tell you, you talk about great quarterback play. Brett Favre and Peyton Manning and Drew Brees and all them. Phillip Rivers, to me, is playing just about as well as any of them.
Second down and 10. Favre sets up and throws and completes. That's Berrien. Talking to Brad Childress, you look at the numbers for Bernard Berrien, and Childress said, I told Brett Favre, I sold you as an equal opportunity thrower, meaning you spread it around. Why aren't you throwing more to Bernard Berrien? And Brett Favre will tell you it's more his fault than Bernard Berrien's.
Yeah, and you know, Bernard Berrien last year provided this team a real deep threat. He's still capable of that. Now he's had hamstring injuries to both legs that have really slowed him down. But while he's been down, Favre has just developed this connection with Sidney Rice, and it has been special to watch.
Third down and 3. Pass complete, and there's Rice. Why not keep throwing his direction? 11 yards and a Viking first down. And you look at this, Troy, from the other side as we watch the replay. Chicago gets the touchdown, and the Vikings against this Bears defense, they're moving it right down the field, and they're in position to regain the lead.
And in visiting with Lance Briggs prior to the game, you know, he said, hey, it's not a lot different now in Chicago than what it was in previous years. That if we're going to win, then we've got to put it on the shoulders of our defense, and that's how this team feels coming in. And you know, they've not done their job. They got the turnover, but Minnesota has put together now their second big drive.
Second straight time in the red zone. It's Harvin. Harvin is hit by Roach, and a gain of 4. You think about Percy Harvin, and there's so much conversation about the spread offense in college and how it's changing the way players are evaluated. You look at somebody like Harvin, Gators used all over the field, running it, spreading him out wide, in the slot, just any way to get the ball in his hands, and he's been used for the most part the same way here with the Vikings.
And this Vikings organization was criticized somewhat when they made that pick, you know, feeling that there were some other needs. But as Brad Childress said, you know, we have a philosophy that we cannot acquire enough playmakers. And boy, has he been wrong.
Yeah, that's worked out. Here's Peterson over the left side. Adrian Peterson to the 10. It'll be third down for the Vikings in this 7-7 game.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think Rick Spielman, the general manager for the Minnesota Vikings, has done a phenomenal job of developing this team. Think about it. You know, they draft Adrian Peterson. Some people thought they should have gone and got a wide receiver at that time, that they had Chester Taylor coming off a 1,200-yard season. They had so many other needs. You know, and he's been nothing but sensational. Of course, going and getting Jared Allen, Steve Hutchinson. Then this year, bringing in Brett Favre, but also Sidney Rice. I mean, I don't know that you can say enough for the way that they have assembled this roster in the last 3 to 4 seasons.
It's third down and 3. Favre keeps it, drops it off for Taylor. Chester Taylor into the end zone. Touchdown. And a quick answer from the Vikings after the Bears had just tied it.
Boy, they make it look easy, don't they? They've got so many different ways to come at you. And when they're able to put Adrian Peterson on the sideline and then bring in Chester Taylor, who can really pretty much do it all. And it's just off play action. It's just a breakdown there defensively. You know, nothing real tricky in what Minnesota did, and just were able to get outside contain and get the touchdown.
And for Brett Favre, his second touchdown throw of this game, his 23rd touchdown throw of the season against still just 3 picks. What a season for the 40-year-old number 4. Well, the 40-year-old has been doing most of the talking. Now Brad Childress jumps in. 8-play drive covering 80 yards, and Troy, this Vikings offense already has 225 yards, total yards, with 8 minutes left in the first half. You're right, Brett Favre has made it look easy. He has never had the weapons he has around him now with the Vikings. And running back to wide receiver, here's Johnny Knox after a good return by Manning. That ball came out. They're ruling that a fumble. They're ruling it a fumble, and the Vikings have it. Eric Frampton knocked it out, and Johnny Knox coughed it up. Let's take another look and see if he was down or if it's a fumble. He's on the body. His hand is down. I don't think he's down.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, you're right. His hand was down. That doesn't count. Nothing else was on the ground because he lands on Frampton. He's still not to the ground. The ball clearly comes out. That's a fumble, and it's Minnesota's ball.
Heath Farwell got the recovery as he was there. A ball just popped into his arms. Your hand does not make you down. And that's the only part of the body, the left hand by Johnny Knox. It went to the turf. He rolled over on the body of Frampton, and the turnover puts the ball at the Chicago 31.
And I think Johnny Knox, because he landed on Frampton, I think we came off the sidelines, the way he was talking there to the coaches was, he felt that he was down, but he certainly was not.
And now here comes a challenge by Lovie Smith. But there is nothing in that replay that says the Bears will get the ball back. But he's going to challenge
Chicago is challenging the ruling on the field of a fumble.
Vikings almost snapped it. Kind of a hard snap count by Brett Favre. They didn't snap it. Lovie Smith will challenge this play. We haven't seen anything in any replay that says the Bears will end up with a football. Momentarily, we'll get the call from Walt Coleman. That moment is now.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is confirmed. It is a fumble recovered by Minnesota. First down. Chicago will be charged with their first team timeout.
I still don't understand why these head coaches just throw away timeouts like that.
Well, I don't either. I mean, you're just kind of grasping, I guess. Well, if there's just a slight chance, but as we showed, there was no chance on that one to be overturned. And a game like this, I mean, Lovie came out and made it very clear this is a must-win game for this Chicago team. I mean, in essence, they're in playoff mode from here on out.
Blitz coming from Chicago. Vikings pick it up. End zone. Pass incomplete for Bernard Berrien. And we talked about what Berrien has done. He's coming to Minnesota last year. Berrien averaged over 20 yards per reception, which was second best in the NFL. I mentioned the hamstring injuries have slowed him a bit, but really he's not shown all that he's capable of doing for Brett Favre. And I said earlier, and it's the truth, whether it's Harvin, Adrian Peterson, Sidney Rice, Bernard Berrien, the tight end Schenko, Favre has never had this weaponry around him in the NFL. 2nd and 10. Here is Peterson, and a good play made by Tommy Harris. Loss of 2.
Tommy Harris, who in the middle of the season had not been playing very well. I don't know how healthy he was. He's been coming back from a number of injuries, but here over the last 2 to 3 ball games, he's been much more disruptive, even fighting through a hold there to make a play. And that is the one position on the Chicago defense that they have to have a disruptive force. They're over the tackle. They call that the 3 technique, but they need that 3 technique defensive player to be a disruptive player. Tommy was that guy early in his career, but because of injury, he has not been, but he's slowly starting to get back to form. I don't know that he's ever going to get back to where he once was.
Another blitz. Favre backpedaling throws, and it's almost intercepted. Anderson back there to bat it away, and so the defense steps up for Chicago after the turnover by Knox.
Hadn't seen a lot of pressure so far in this game by Chicago, but this time here they come. They bring Lance Briggs and then Afalava, the safety, off the edge, and they're able to get in Favre's face, force him to get the ball out of his hands. We've seen it all year long. When he has had time, he's been unstoppable. The only chance any team has had against him is when they've been able to get pressure and force him to get it out sooner than he'd like.
52-yard drive by Longwell, and the Vikings turn the turnover into 3 points. Longwell now 2 for 2 from 50 or more this season, and Johnny Knox, who coughed it up, watches Longwell convert to make it 17-7. Well, Brad Childress has been doing a lot of that, clapping his hands together and watching his offense do its thing. And so now the Bears will have the football and try and do something as they trail by 10. We welcome you inside our broadcast booth. And for Chicago, I mean, the story has been the easy one, Jay Cutler, but there are more issues with this Chicago team, although their defense just did make a stop there after the turnover by Knox.
It was a great job by their defense, limiting them to only 3 points. Now it's a 10-point ball game, not insurmountable for them to be able to come back and get something going on this drive. But you talk about Chicago and some of the issues that they have offensively. Of course, Jay Cutler, that's been well dissected here over the last couple of weeks. He needs some help. He needs some help with the running game, and every yard that they get is really pretty much because of him being able to throw the football, and that's hard on any quarterback.
Daniel Manning from basically the goal line, back returning kicks, and he's to the 20. That's it. Madieu Williams on the stop, and we look ahead to next week, and it'll be a fun day of football here on Fox. Good matchups early. It's a doubleheader day, starting at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and there are the 2 late games, including the Cowboys at the Giants, in a game that will be brutally important for the New York Giants, who were just shut down by the Denver Broncos on Thanksgiving.
Hey, you wonder if they can get it going. I mean, their only win was against Atlanta. They had to go into overtime in that game. They have just been a shell of themselves from where they began this year.
Cutler with play action, throws, and wide open is Devin Hester. Makes the catch, and he's forced out at the 42. Hester is not a #1 receiver. I think the Chicago Bears have to go into the offseason looking for somebody to take some of the load off Hester. It's not to say Hester's not a good NFL receiver, and he's tried to change his career path. But they need more help for Cutler, who's not throwing to Brandon Marshall and Eddie Royal in this offense as he did last year with the Broncos. On first down, Cutler throws. There is Olsen, and the tight end is out to the 46. Olsen is a weapon, and as you said earlier, the one guy that Cutler really seems to trust and at times try and force it to.
Yeah, well, it's the guy that he has confidence in, and I think to go back to what you were talking about with Devin Hester, I agree. I mean, he's made a nice transition over to the wide receiver position for a guy who was really a defensive back and a special teamer, but that's a hard transition, and I think it's unrealistic for any football guy to think that he can come in then and be a featured wide receiver in this league.
Here's Forte. Great rookie season last year for Forte. At 1,200 yards rushing. It's been a different story this season as he gains 4 to bring up 3rd and 1, and the Bears need something to happen on this drive.
And I think that's been part of their problem, Joe, has been that they just have not gotten enough out of their running game. And when you're 2nd and 10 and you can hand off the ball and pick up 4 or 5 yards, I mean, that is really helpful. And this is a big 3rd down for this point in the ball game.
Forte 4 carries, 13 yards. It's 3rd and 1. Throwing on 3rd and 1. Cutler hits Olsen, and Olsen has a first down at the Minnesota 45. Good throw, good catch, and a conversion on 3rd and 1.
Well, they better get Orlando Pace some help, because Jared Allen is just going right through him and then gets the hit on Jay Cutler. Not a real deep drop. He's only going at 5 steps, not asking Orlando Pace to hold the block very long. And yet Cutler's still on his back. Never saw Olsen make the catch.
Olsen has 6 catches. Jared Allen gets to work on this artificial surface, a faster surface against an aging tackle, Orlando Pace. And there he goes again. Pass is incomplete, and it was Orlando Pace who was giving ground to Jared Allen, and that forced Cutler out to his right.
You know, Orlando Pace has had himself a heck of a career there with the St. Louis Rams, but he's winding down fast here in Chicago, and he has been very inconsistent. And I'm surprised, even though they're getting the ball out, trying to get it out anyway very quickly, Orlando Pace needs help against one of the premier pass rushers in the game.
That is another glaring weakness and issue for this Chicago Bears team, is this offensive line. Last 2 drives for the Bears, they've thrown it 10 times, run it only once. 2nd and 10. Pass is complete on a screen to Forte. Kevin Williams couldn't bring him down. Forte gets it down to the 39, a gain of 6, and a better percentage play coming up on 3rd and 4. 6-yard screen to Matt Forte, who comes in with 399 yards receiving, 2nd highest total among NFL running backs.
Well, some of their best pass plays this year have been the screen pass there to Matt Forte.
Bears are not in field goal range. Cutler gets rid of it in a hurry, completes to Forte. 1st down, Chicago. Heavy pressure on Jay Cutler, who hung in and completed it for 10 yards to Matt Forte.
The Vikings, they hug tight with their linebackers, trying to hold in those offensive guards, not allow them to give any help to their tackles, but Cutler is able to get the ball out quickly to Matt Forte and pick up that 1st down.
At the Viking 29. Pass complete to Olsen, catch number 7. Greenway on the stop. And it's been a very crisp start throwing the ball for Jay Cutler in this game.
Yeah, I was talking about it. Hey, I'm not trying to defend Jay Cutler, because he has struggled and he has to play better than what he has. But we're witnessing it right here, that they're only as good as his ability to throw the football, because they're not getting a lot of other things, particularly out of their running game. And they haven't been a real explosive team, you know, in creating a lot of big plays.
Cutler has started 14 of 16, now throws for Knox, and he's picked off by Cedric Griffin. Well covered, underthrown, and an interception for Cutler. A career high 19 on the season for Jay Cutler.
And unfortunately, too many of them this year have been on this end of the field, to where you're not at least coming away with 3 points. And you know, he tries to give Johnny Knox a chance. This is excellent coverage here by Cedric Griffin. One, the ball's got to be out there a little bit further, as we saw on the first touchdown pass to Johnny Knox. If he gets that one out further, he's got an opportunity, but a heck of an athletic move there by Cedric Griffin, going up and making that play.
2nd turnover for Chicago, and this one out of the hand of Jay Cutler. 16 touchdowns, 19 interceptions. It's still a 10-point game, and a toss to Peterson. Running right. Adrian Peterson gets enough for a 1st down before Hillenmeyer shoves him out of bounds.
You know, you think about it, Joe, as bad as it has been in terms of the turnovers and the interceptions, if they had just a couple of interceptions and had been able to settle for field goals against Green Bay, they probably beat Green Bay in week 1. They probably beat San Francisco. Then a few weeks ago, they'd be sitting here at 6-4. I mean, as bad as it's been, they could have won at least 2 games, and maybe even 1 or 2 more.
Cutler's numbers are so poor in the red zone. Been a big problem for the Chicago offense as Favre steps up down the middle, and that was almost intercepted by Hillenmeyer after it was drilled off the chest of Schenko. How's the fastball?
Yeah, that was straight heat right there. And Favre hasn't lost anything on his fastball. Schenko was running through the middle of this defense just wide open, and Brett Favre just reared back and uncorked one. And I hope he's got some kind of chest protector on, because otherwise he's going to have a heck of a bruise tomorrow.
And Favre had told us that Schenko is not a hands catcher. He's more of a body catcher.
Yeah,
and
that's an understatement.
And took a chip out of his shoulder pads. 2nd and 10. A blitz coming. Bears watch Favre just flip it forward for Adrian Peterson, a gain of 4. And we are at the 2-minute warning here at Mall of America Field. 3rd down for the Vikings when we come back. Brett Favre on October 10th, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a quarterback rating of over 120. They're down in 6. Good pocket for Favre, and the pass broken up. No penalty flag. Burying the intended receiver, and Corey Graham got his hand in there and broke it up. It's 4th down.
Yeah, Corey Graham, who got beat earlier by Percy Harvin for the touchdown. I thought this was good coverage. He's locked up man-to-man there on Bernard Berrien on the square end. Got tangled up a little bit, but I didn't see anything there that warranted a pass interference. Just good coverage there by Corey Graham.
Vikings now 5 of 8 on 3rd downs. They'd scored on their 3 previous drives. Now Kluwe to punt. Hits one off the side of his foot, trying to keep it away from Devin Hester. Doesn't do it as Hester gets it on a bounce. But he takes it out to the 25. Cue the piano. Weekdays make lunchtime your new prime time as FoxSports.com brings you lunch with benefits. Log on to check out new episodes of original sports shows delivered to your desktop every Monday through Friday at 1 Eastern. Tomorrow, don't miss the after party with Jay Glazer. If Jay has any juice whatsoever, he'll get Prince on the after party tomorrow. One of the best musicians, certainly that this area, if not this country, has produced.
Well, knowing Jay, he's got his cell number.
Here is a pass complete. That's Earl Bennett. And Bennett is brought down just inches shy of a 1st down at the 34 plus. I agree with you. It probably does. 2 timeouts left for Chicago. They would have 3, but a challenge didn't work out for Lovie Smith. Cutler in trouble, and down he goes. Penalty flag on the far side of the field as Jimmy Kennedy came in to get the sack, but will check the marker.
This time outside, Pace does a good job on the outside, but then they don't hold up inside with Jimmy Kennedy. He's got a
offside, nose tackle, defense, 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
So on 2nd and inches, instead of the sack by Kennedy, it's an offside on Kevin Williams.
We'll see here if he well, there it is, and that was on Kennedy that wound up jumping.
Yeah, they said 93. I think they meant 73. Either way, it's a 1st down up at the Chicago 40. That negates the first Vikings sack of the day. They lead the NFL in sacks. Getting rid of it quickly. That's Forte. Does a nice job to eventually get out of bounds. Got a 1st down and picked up 15 yards, and a good effort from Matt Forte.
Good hard running there after the catch. You're going to see, I mean, this guy's he's a physical runner. I mean, he can do a lot of different things, and we see it from him, and we've seen it already with his ability to catch the football. Nice job of getting some extra yards and then getting out of bounds. The Bears are now huddling, and that is something that we've really not seen much of here in this 1st half. For the most part, they've been working out of a no-huddle operation.
It was Mediu Williams who missed on that 1st tackle effort. And it's first down at the Minnesota 45. Cutler stays on his feet and will get out of bounds. Minute 6 left, and now with 2 timeouts, plenty of time left on the clock to do something about this 10-point deficit. That was an 8-yard run by Cutler, who threw an interception in the end zone to Cedric Griffin. Another one of those high draft picks for Spielman, second rounder out of Texas in '06, who was recently signed to a contract extension during the spring.
Well, you think back now to that interception that he threw to Cedric Griffin, and what they missed by not having at least 3 more points on the board.
2nd and 2. Over the middle, in the air, picked off by Jared Allen. Tries to lateral, may have thrown it forward. They throw a flag on that lateral attempt by Jared Allen, and who comes away with a football? No signal yet, and the officials get together. It looks like Asher Allen came away with a football, but they threw a flag as Allen tossed it forward.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Joe, I thought there should have been pass interference even before all that.
An illegal forward pass, 69 on the return team. 5-yard penalty. That'll be a first down. It is an incomplete pass.
You're going to see E.J. Henderson, the linebacker, who is the one who drives on this. Here's E.J. Henderson, and there is contact there on Bennett well before the ball arriving.
I don't know why referee Walt Coleman said it's an incomplete pass. It was an intercepted pass by Jared Allen, and it was that contact on Bennett by E.J. Henderson that shot it up into the air, and the interception for Jared Allen. First pick of the season for Allen as Favre slings it for Schenko. And a timeout taken by the Vikings as they have 2 left. And a first down at the Chicago 49. We step back and look around the league in the early game headliners. Peyton Manning, 27 of 35, a comeback effort and a win for the unbeaten Indianapolis Colts. Chris Redman, how about that?
Yeah, that's interesting. Chris Redman has not played here much in recent years, and for him to come off the bench and do what he did and bring that team back, that's impressive. And Peyton Manning, gosh, I mean, we're seeing that each and every week. They spotted Houston 14 points, and for them to still come back and win that game, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's very consistent.
Amazing. It is amazing.
How about who's breathing a bigger sigh of relief than Andy Reid tonight at the end of that game, where they had to rally and come back at a 2-point conversion, then in essence a game-winning field goal after trying an onside kick to start the game against the Redskins?
I didn't like that at all. You do that against a team that you're not better than. That's something Chicago could have done in this game to kick, to start off. But not Philadelphia against Washington.
Blitz coming, quick throw, and it's Berrien on the reception. I mean, Favre, this always turns into a Favre love fest anytime any broadcast crew shows up, but he's getting pressure in his face, blitz right up the middle, throws it before Berrien gets out of his break, and it's a perfect pass.
Well, and that's why some teams are reluctant to come after Favre, because even if you do get pressure on him, he does a good job of getting the ball out of his hands. Even though he has taken some sacks, they have been sacks that he's just hung onto the ball too long. It has not been a reflection of this offensive line. They have done a great job up front of protecting for him. But, when you play 19 years in the league, you're just not going to fool this guy.
2nd down and 1. Favre throws, completes to Berrien on this side of the field. And a first down for the Vikings as this methodical march down the field continues for Minnesota. Visa halftime report coming up. Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy. Scores and highlights from around the league and stats and all the other stuff that you want during your typical halftime show. They cover it better than anybody. First down for Minnesota at the 35. Already leading by 10. Favre throws it. Pass is Sidney Rice. With 35 seconds left, Rice down to the 2.
Well, we saw Favre. He went with the hard count, and you're going to see him signal out to Sidney Rice right here. He gives him the hand, and it's a signal to Rice to run the go route. And he's got Bowman on him and a back shoulder throw. I mean, I don't know that it matters where you throw it to this guy. He's going to make a play.
Yeah, Favre said, I'll throw it to him when he's covered. It doesn't matter because he's going to go up and outfight the defender for the football. And the Vikings are now over 300 yards of offense in this first half.
I tell you, the jury was out on Sidney Rice after his first couple of years, but Brett Favre, having confidence in him, has made him one heck of a player. I mean, now everybody looks at Sidney Rice and you say, gosh, you know, why would you not have drafted him? I mean, he's unbelievable. Not the fastest guy in the world, but you know, when you get a receiver that will go up and make plays even when he's covered, as Sidney Rice has done for Brett Favre, yeah, I mean, that's a quarterback's best friend.
5 catches, 82 yards for Rice. And Brett Favre is using all of the weapons that the Vikings have around him, whether it's Peterson or Sidney Rice or Percy Harvin, the rookie, Bernard Berrien, Asante Shanko, they're all in on him. Even Chester Taylor, who has a touchdown reception in this game. And the guy at the controls is Brett Favre.
Yeah, and there's offensive coordinator Darrell Bevell, and I touched on it a little bit earlier. He spent 6 years as the quarterback coach for Brett Favre in Green Bay. And he came here as offensive coordinator when Childress got the job, and Brett Favre made it real clear, without Darrell Bevell, I'm not in Minnesota.
Hand off to Peterson, and Peterson gets a yard. That's it. Vikings have one timeout, and they use it here. 2nd and goal. You and I better be careful. Frank Caliendo will have us in his next routine about Brett Favre. I mean, here's a guy.
Well, I mean, hey, he is the story right now of the league. I mean, it's amazing, really. I mean, there are so few athletes. I mean, think about it in any sport that at his age, 40 years old, are playing at that level. I spoke about it a little bit earlier. I'm telling you. I mean, I played against this guy in big games. I've seen him up close. I've been following him over the last 9 years now as a broadcaster. He looks no different to me today than he did back in the mid-90s. That's remarkable. Typically, it's your legs that leave you. I mean, not your arm strength or anything like that. But he still makes plays with his legs. And he, you know, early in his career, he was not a big workout guy. I mean, he's not the guy who took great care of his body at one time.
Doing all this after they snipped his biceps tendon in his throwing arm. And he has lost nothing as he completes it for the touchdown to Shanko. But a penalty flag is down, and it's against the Vikings for an ineligible man downfield. So it's coming back.
Yeah, Shanko looked like he landed right on his head after he caught that.
Ineligible downfield, 74. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
That's Brian McKinney, one of the huge offensive tackles. All they have to do is lean forward in their downfield. They're so big. 6'8".
Yeah, both of them. Brian McKinney and then his other right tackle, Phil Lodeholt. And you're going to see Brian McKinney right here in the middle. Old big man wanted to get in the action. You know, I mean, when you've got a pass play on with a rollout, those guys aren't supposed to get that far down the field.
I think Brad Childress was surprised to see number 74 in the end zone.
Yeah, but you talk about the size of these tackles, and you know, I know from experience, sometimes you just can't see a receiver when you've got linemen that are that big. And I asked Brett about it the other day, and he said that there's a couple times a game to where he can't make a throw because he can't find the receiver.
2nd and goal now, and the pass is caught but out of bounds by Sidney Rice. Well, anything in his area code, he's going to come down with it. 20 seconds left. It's now 3rd and goal.
This is a huge 3rd and goal now for Chicago. I mean, they have had some things that have gone against them. You see the hands there and the strong fingertips by Sidney Rice being able to make that play. I like what the league did, though. He wasn't inbounds there anyway. It didn't matter. But I like what the league did in eliminating a force out. And so now if you're either inbounds or you're not, whether the defender forced you out, made it real clear for these officials to call.
That's Chester Taylor in motion. 3rd and goal. Quick throw. Schenko, touchdown. And that for Visanthe Schenko is his 8th of the year, tying Joe Sensor for this franchise record for receiving touchdowns by a tight end.
Pretty good ratio there as far as receptions to touchdowns, and it's just a stick route. Down there you just push up, hook it up, and let the quarterback determine whether or not he wants to put the ball on you, and Schenko's a pretty big target to stick it on.
This to make it 24-7. So a turnover. The interception by Jared Allen leads to 7 more points, and for Favre, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And here's the route by Visanthe Schenko.
Yeah, just get across the goal line and turn around, and that's pretty much what they were doing across the board. And Favre dropped back and was looking at him the entire way. And in talking with him, and you mentioned it, Joe, that as good as Schenko has been this year, and I think he's another one of those guys. I said it. I don't want to give Favre credit for everything, but he has elevated the players around him. There's no question or no disputing that. And it's just really, I mean, as Brett said, he said, hey, these guys have always had talent. Sidney Rice has always had talent. Schenko's always had talent. It's just taken somebody to have some confidence in those guys that they can make plays. And he has shown that he believes in them, and we're seeing him make plays.
17 seconds left in the half. For Brett Favre's 70th time with 3 or more touchdown passes in a game. And I'll tell you, you start looking at the balance on this team, and you could make a strong case that even though they have a loss that came at Pittsburgh, that they may be the most dangerous team in the NFC because they can come at you in all 3 phases of the game.
Oh, I think they're the most rounded team in the NFC. I don't think there's any question. I like the Saints if they have home field advantage. But I think if you paired them up against each other, you come away from that argument saying the Vikings are a better team.
Saints have a big date at home on Monday night with the New England Patriots as they will try to stay undefeated. Danielle Manning with a 17-yard return. Brinkley on the stop. The offensive leaders for Chicago. Now 2 more interceptions on the ledger for Jay Cutler. One was a batted ball that went up into the air, picked off by Allen. The other an underthrown ball that was intercepted by Cedric Griffin. He is 16 for 20, has a touchdown throw, a good one to Johnny Knox. However, those are just stats, and it's a 17-point Viking lead with 12 seconds left in the half. Out to the 25-yard line is Matt Forte, and that's it for the first half. And for the Vikings, it just keeps getting better. A season-high 312 yards in a half. And it comes in the first half against a division rival, Chicago Bears. Vikings are 9-1 and rolling, leading by 17 at the half. E.J. Henderson got through and made the stop at 2nd and goal.
Yeah, E.J. Henderson is really coming along after that knee injury last year. He comes in and just blows up McKee and is able to make a play then on Matt Forte. A lot of criticisms placed on Matt Forte and him not hitting the hole. I'll tell you, more times than not, there's been nowhere for him to run.
6 carries, 18 yards. That's it for Matt Forte. 2nd and goal. In trouble. Down he goes. And the sack for Minnesota, it's Ray Edwards. And that's the first sack of the day for the defense that leads the NFL in that category.
Well, Jared Allen comes right around the edge and is putting the pressure then on Jay Cutler, and he tries to step up in the pocket. The pocket in the middle collapses on top of him, and yeah, there's people running open, but if you don't have time to find them, you're not going to get it out.
Third down and goal. Penalty flags on the play as down goes Cutler again. Jared Allen.
I'm not sure if they're going to call that on Orlando Pace. Jared Allen flinched a little bit, which caused Pace to then flinch, and that's when the flags were thrown.
False start, 76. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still third down.
The only thing was Jared Allen did not get into the neutral zone. You see Jared Allen right here. And then that's what caused Orlando Pace, and rightfully so. I mean, Jared Allen has started to pick up his rush on the outside. We've seen the bull rush. Now he's been using the speed rush around Pace. And you better get out of there as quickly as you can. So as soon as Pace anticipates movement, he's moving with him.
The Vikings accepted that penalty. And so the Bears get another crack at it on 3rd and goal. Cutler's in trouble again, and down he goes. No protection whatsoever as Pat Williams gets the sack.
Well, Jared Allen is the one who initiates the pressure again. I talked about the speed move that he was using on the outside. Now he's going to come back underneath. You're going to see him get Pace going up. Bull rush comes down underneath. And then once Cutler has to try to spin out of that. And then you've got Pat Williams.
Oh, man. It's a 38-yard try by Gold. And Gold, one of the best in the league, knocks it through. Now the Minnesota Vikings are showing you their weapons on the other side of the ball. Good work by the Vikings defense. It's 24-10.
Bag It's On by Lowe's. For all your holiday home improvements, Lowe's. Let's build something together. By Domino's new Mix and Match deal. And by the Volkswagen Sign Then Drive event. German engineering for practically just a signature.
We welcome you back after the field goal. It's a 24-10 game, and Robbie Gold will kick it away, pops it up. This is Dugan on the return from the 20. And Jeff Dugan fights his way forward to the 33-yard line. During the half, a nice moment here in the Dome is Scott Studwell. He was a 9th-round pick in 1977, had a 14-year career, and is still the franchise leader in tackles. Longtime linebacker. Had his name added to the Ring of Honor for this franchise, and he was asked who the toughest running back was that he faced, and his answer shouldn't surprise you, Walter Payton.
Yeah, a number of the other guys that are already in were in attendance. Randall McDaniel and John Randall.
On first down, Favre to throw, steps up to the sideline, and it's broken up. Good play by Tillman. In front of Sidney Rice, here's Pam Oliver.
Well, Joe, Lovie Smith was polite but short. When we spoke at halftime, he spoke a familiar refrain, though. Turnovers are killing us. Defensively, at one point, I noticed in the first half, he gathered up to defense and emphasized that we better get it together. He said the same thing to me as well, but added, we have one half of football to play, and our season is riding on it.
Well, they got the nice start, thank you, Pam, from Johnny Knox, and the 77-yard return. Drive started at the 8. And the Chicago offense lost 12 yards of field position on that quote-unquote drive to get the field goal. Favre throws. That Schenko somehow made that catch. He is good for 3, and we go for a game break. Here's Kurt.
Tennessee running back Chris Johnson leads the league in rushing. Here he scores from 85 yards out, his third 85-yard touchdown of the season. No player since 1950 has had 3 in his career. Guess what? After that, Arizona ran the kickoff back 99 yards. Larod Stevens-Howling doing it. It's a 13-10 game in the third quarter. Joe, Troy, and Pam.
Still don't know why I didn't draft him on my fantasy team.
It's 3rd down and 7. A lot of people saying that.
Yeah.
though he had a terrific year last year. He is a home run hitter. Favre with the pocket around him, throws, and wide open is Harvin for a Vikings first down. So pretty good defense on first and second down, but third down defense has let down Chicago. That was good for 12 yards. And the Vikings are now 7 for 10 on third down.
And one of the reasons for that is that he's getting pretty good protection. Brian McKinney doing a good job there on the outside against Mark Anderson. Mark Anderson, a guy who really bursted on the scene as a rookie and had a heck of a year that year when he had 12 sacks, and since then just has not been able to get after the quarterback like he did that first year.
319! 319!
Just throws it into the ground right at the feet of Adrian Peterson, and a flag comes in from the secondary.
Looked like some type of illegal contact defensively.
Pass interference, 81. Offense, 10-yard penalty, first down.
How about an offensive pass interference call against Visanthe Shenko? We'll go back and take a look and see what he did.
They split Shenko out wide, and you've got Nick Roach, linebacker, that's on him. And I don't know what that's about. I mean, Favre they were looking for the screen. I don't know. But I'm going to go back to what Pam said as far as Lovie Smith saying, well, once again, turnovers have done us in. I got to tell you, I mean, when your defense gives up over 300 yards of offense, there's a little more to it than just turning the ball over on your own offensive side of the ball.
First down and 20. Play action, and right down the middle of the field, Percy Harvin to the 40. 22-yard catch by Percy Harvin, and Brett Favre just fired it right down the middle.
Well, watch him. I mean, a guy that fast, you just can't not give him a free release off the ball. You've got to line a defender over him. You got to reroute him. You allow a guy with that kind of speed to go down the middle against a cover 2 scheme. That's the weakness, and Percy Harvin has done a good job, not just in this game, of finding that hole in the zone over the ball where Favre can find him, but he does it each and every week.
Toss to Peterson running to the left, and the ball comes out. Bears say they have it, and they do. Second fumble of this game for Adrian Peterson, and it was Lance Briggs who knocked it out. Idonije comes away with a football.
I got to tell you, I mean, there's not many coaches that would tolerate, the ball on the ground as much as what Adrian Peterson puts it on the ground. I mean, he's an exceptional back, but you can't constantly have this.
Second of the day, and more life for Chicago, down by 14.
Volkswagen takes care of the scheduled maintenance at no cost.
For all the brilliance that comes with Adrian Peterson, there is that one negative, which is obviously important. And during the break, it was Brad Childress challenging the call on the field, saying that the ball was out of bounds or not fully in the control of Idonije without it touching the boundary. And so it's a Minnesota challenge right now. The weakness, the fumbles. And that's 2 on the day, and 15 the last 2 seasons, the most by an NFL running back.
Well, the ball sure looked like it was in contact with somebody, a body that was on the sideline, and so it'll be interesting to see how they rule this one. But this one was earlier, and I want to clarify my comments before we went to break that there's not many coaches in this league that would tolerate a running back that puts the ball on the ground as much as what Adrian Peterson has throughout his career here in Minnesota, his young career. And I think it just speaks to how great a player he is. I mean, Jimmy Johnson would never play a guy that fumbled like that, but it just kind of speaks to the overall talents and how exceptional Adrian Peterson is. I'm not suggesting they shouldn't be playing him, but what it does speak to is how phenomenal he is, that the Vikings are willing to continually put him out there, even though he has fumbled the ball as much as he has.
Here comes a call from Walt Coleman. Was there enough evidence to overturn the call on the field, which was fumble recovered by Chicago?
After reviewing the play, number 92, who was out of bounds, reaches in and touches the ball while it's loose. It's a fumble out of bounds. It'll be Minnesota's ball, 2nd and 10 at the 40-yard line. They will not be charged a timeout.
So it is a fumble, but the Vikings don't lose the ball, and it's Hillenmeyer, who is clearly on the line, who touches the football right there. And that's what takes it away from the Chicago Bears.
And one of the reasons why he does fumble is you'll see Adrian Peterson keeps the ball in his right hand even when he's running to the left. Fundamentally, he should put the ball in his left arm. Emmitt Smith was the same way. He always carried the ball in his left arm, and so it exposes the ball to the defender when you're then running to that side. Now, Emmitt Smith was not a fumbler. He rarely put the ball on the ground, but it's something that they've just not been able to get Adrian Peterson comfortable with, putting the ball in his left hand when he's running then to the left side.
2nd down and 10 for the Vikings. And a good challenge by Brad Childress. Here's a penalty flag thrown. A pass is complete to Schenko. That flag hit Chester Taylor on his way out into his route and was on his body for a moment. The pass was caught by Schenko and will get the call from Walt Coleman, who's been busy here this afternoon. 19-yard catch as it is.
Defense lined up in the neutral zone. That penalty's declined. 1st down.
Well, you mentioned, Troy, that Lovie Smith can't pin this all on turnovers by his offense, and there's been unrest defensively. Not only are the statistics declining, but you think of their Super Bowl year. Ron Rivera was let go after that season. Bob Babich took over, called the defense. This year, Lovie Smith is calling the defense, and it has been a steady slide statistically for this group, and they have been taken apart by Minnesota here today. At the quote-unquote start of this 6-game season, here is Chester Taylor, and with a penalty flag down, it's a hold against Minnesota, no touchdown. Right at the goal line. Taylor thinks he has another touchdown. He does not.
Holding, 87, offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. 1st down.
So it's a 1st down, but no touchdown, as Bernard Berrien was guilty of a hold.
Yeah, it just seems like it's probably delaying the inevitable. But Bernard Berrien, I really didn't see much. I could see where, he's frustrated with that call. But, to go back to what you were saying, Joe, as far as Chicago defensively, they've played well in some games, but they really haven't played well against any good offensive teams. They really struggled against Cincinnati. They struggled against Arizona. They are struggling here against the Minnesota Vikings. When you consider Detroit, Cleveland, Seattle, some of those type of teams that they have played, you would expect them to dominate them. So I don't know that the defense is quite as good as what maybe some within the organization would like to believe.
Well, they were just taken apart by Cincinnati and Arizona, and it has happened here today. Spotted back at the 15 after the hold by Berrien. Here's a screen for Taylor, and a good play made by Tommy Harris, and another flag. Harris made the stop, and it's an ineligible man downfield.
Pass. Ineligible downfield. 71. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still 1st down.
That's the rookie Lode Holt, 2nd-round pick out of Oklahoma.
He's got his palms to the air too. He's wondering, what he did wrong.
It's a 14-point game. Penalties starting to pile up, and the ball now back at the 20.
They're backing up a little bit like what Chicago did on their last offensive possession. Got the ball on the 8 and lost 12, 15 yards, whatever it was.
We got 12 yards and kicked the field goal. That's now 7 penalties against the Vikings. And now more movement. Penalty flags, whistles, no play. Gaines Adams was moving up front. Then Favre tried to snap it quickly, and Berrien moved early on the outside.
Yeah, I think they're going to get the defense on it. You're right. Favre recognized that he was offsides and then immediately tried to get the ball snapped before he had time to get back.
Neutral zone infraction, 96, defense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
They say Alex Brown. We think Gaines Adams either way. Let's take a listen to Favre. That was Gaines Adams, not 96. They called. It was 99. The player that this organization got from the Tampa Bucks for a 2nd-round pick. So this is an organization that has a ton of holes to fill, and they don't have a 1st-round pick or a 2nd-round pick in the upcoming draft. Toss to Peterson running right. Hillenmeyer can't bring him down until he gets inside the 5, and another flag comes in on the tackle.
Walt Coleman's Q rating is going up on this series.
Gosh, that is 4 straight plays with a penalty flag. And was it on a block or was it on the tackle?
Personal foul, grasping the face mask, 28, offense, 15-yard penalty from the end of the play, still first down.
So it was on the tackle, but it was on Peterson getting a grasp of Hillenmeyer's face mask, not the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, they could have gotten Hillenmeyer on it as well. This guy's, I tell you, this guy's such a physical runner. It's amazing. And the one thing I have seen is once he has put the ball on the ground, as we saw, he's done it twice now, but on this possession, I mean, he is a man possessed after that. I'd hate to be one of those 11 guys out there trying to bring him to the ground.
First and 13 now. Favre throws and misses Chester Taylor.
Well, he had a chance to Chester Taylor. Also, Favre knows it. I mean, that's really the first real poor throw I've seen him make, because Chester Taylor had a step, but Lance Briggs was in coverage on him, and Chester Taylor has really carved himself out a nice role. And I know that if he was playing for another team, there's a lot of teams around the league that could probably start him, but I think he's probably being used the way that he should here in Minnesota.
2nd down and 13. Favre backpedaling as he throws, and in the direction of Schenko. He and Briggs come together. Briggs ended up on the ground, and Schenko lost his footing, and then the two looked at each other and went, well, no flag, and it was just Schenko tripping.
Yeah, and that was a touchdown. I mean, good call by Darrell Bevell, the offensive coordinator. They're going to run the stick route that we saw earlier for the touchdown, and then off of that, it's basically a double move. He's going to take the middle of the field. He just stumbled coming out of it, but he certainly had Briggs overrunning that route, and there was nobody else there in the middle.
So it's 3rd and 13. Out of the backfield, it's Taylor. He gets to the 20. That's it. It'll be 4th down as Tillman made the stop, a gain of 3. And Tillman slow to get up.
You know, I asked Charles Tillman, he is slow to get up. He must have hit his helmet there on the tackle. You could see that he is definitely woozy trying to get back up to his feet.
We will have a field goal try coming up from Longwell that will be roughly 38 yards in length, and here is the end of the play. Tillman and Taylor, and Tillman got that right elbow of Tommy Harris against the back of his helmet. .7:59 left. Field goal attempt from Longwell coming when we return. Charles Tillman, who forced 3 fumbles last Sunday night against the Eagles, was dinged on that tackle of Chester Taylor, and now a 38-yard try by Longwell, who's 1 for 1. Hit from 52 his first try, and from 38 he drills it. 7:45 left in this 3rd quarter. Vikings about to kick it off, up by 17. Well, what kind of an answer will Jay Cutler and the Bears have as they now trail by 17? Vikings have scored on 5 of their last 6 possessions. Defense for Chicago is not doing much of anything, and Daniel Manning, who has one good return in this game, doesn't have another as he's out to the 23. About the playoff picture, the Saints, we know, are undefeated. They play Monday night at home against the Patriots. They're 10-0. Vikings are 9-1. You know, these Minnesota Vikings and their fans will be watching that game with a purpose on Monday night. The other 2 division leaders and the wild card leaders right now, Green Bay and Philadelphia at 7-4. The Giants play next Sunday late at home against the division leading Dallas Cowboys. And the Giants have lost 5 of 6.
And you can take Chicago off of that graphic if they don't win here today.
Handoff is to Forte, running to his left. One of his better runs of the day, out to the 30, a gain of 7. The NFC East has the Cowboys, who won on Thanksgiving easily at home over Oakland, 8-3. The Eagles, now the Cowboys have already defeated the Eagles in Philadelphia, and the 2 will match up the final weekend of the season in Dallas. And then the Giants, who lost at Denver 26-6 on Thanksgiving night. 2nd down and 3. Cutler, Forte, and Forte is short of the 1st down. A gain of 2. Cedric Griffin made the stop.
I'll tell you, the New York Giants, I mean, as bad as they've played, though, Joe, if they were able to beat Dallas next week, having beaten them in week 2, I mean, they climb right back into the middle of it.
Handoff, actually Cutler takes it, and we'll see where they spot it. And right at the marker, Ray Edwards comes out of there with a football, but Cutler may have been stopped short. Now Ray Edwards hands the ball back, and it looks like he's short with our unofficial yellow line. The Giants in that game, by the way, on Thanksgiving night at Denver, had 38 first half yards. And it was a comeback game of sorts for the Denver Broncos, who end up 7-4. They trail in the AFC West to the Chargers 7-3, and the Chargers winning big today over Kansas City. So now it's 4th down.
You know, it's 17-point difference here with 6.5 minutes to play. I know Lovie Smith's in there looking at this saying, you know, we're going to go for it, but to have any chance, I mean, you just can't take that risk. And Cutler took a pretty good shot here at the end of that play by Ray Edwards, right on his throwing shoulder.
So that's the 2nd time in this game that the Vikings have held the defense on 3rd down and 1. First time it was Forte. This time it's Cutler. And with 6:20 and counting left in the 3rd quarter, a punt from Maynard. Fair catch called for by Raynaud, and that's a 42-yard punt with nothing on the return. Back to work, this Minnesota Vikings offense. They've had fun today. Vikings up 17. 12 left in the 3rd quarter, and we get to see more from this Vikings offense. Comparison of the 2 quarterbacks. 3 touchdowns, no picks for Favre. Still only 3 all year, which is a stunning total. And Cutler 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions.
Well, Favre has averaged 17 of them, you know, over 18 seasons. So I don't want to jinx him, but he is due.
Handoff is to Peterson. And Adrian Peterson, a lot of effort, but just a 2-yard run.
And I say due. I mean, to go 3 games without an interception is pretty good for any quarterback, but to only have 3 when over the course of 18 years you've been averaging 17 interceptions a season. I think the longer this regular season goes without him throwing interceptions, the more nervous I would get if I was Brad Childress or this Vikings team, because odds are he's gonna have a big game where he's gonna have 3 or 4 of them, and you just hope that it doesn't occur once they get into postseason play, and he has done that as well.
Favre has had 3 or more in a single game 36 times in his career. He throws here, and it's caught by Schenko, who's been busy. Targeted 10 times last week against Seattle. He's good for 2 yards here. Meanwhile, Favre, as many know, is the all-time leader for career interceptions with 313, but he's now up to 20 plus touchdowns, 24 touchdowns, 3 interceptions in his first year with the Vikings.
I'll tell you, this is a big down right here, I think, for Chicago, because with time running down, they need to make a stop and get the ball back. You know, some would say, why didn't you go for it on 4th down, Chicago? But I think they did the right thing in punting, but only if then their defense can make a stop.
It's 3rd down and 5. Favre pulls it back and hits Tahi, the fullback, and he has a first down. Nafahu Tahi is good for 7. Graham on the tackle, and a first down for Minnesota.
Yeah, I've always wondered why they didn't involve Tahi more. You know? Yeah. But this is, you know, you talk about the only 3 interceptions, and this is one of the big reasons why. In fact, even Brett said that, you know, on 3rd and long, not that this was real long down in distance, he's more willing to come underneath to his backs. And this time, nothing down the field. Rather than force something, throw it underneath, and they pick the first down up.
It's a 7th different receiver he's hit. 4 of his receivers have 5 catches. A toss to Peterson running right. A little room out there, and Adrian Peterson is just shy of the 40. Next Sunday, it's the show sports fans have been waiting for, as the nation's best college football teams will be chosen to play in college football's biggest games. Don't miss the All-State BCS Selection Show next Sunday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, only on Fox. It'll be 2nd down and 10. I think to further your point, what Brett Favre said was he knows his defense is so good. He doesn't have to force it on 3rd and long. He's willing to come up a little short, play the field position game, and let his defense go out there and make some plays. On 2nd and 10, that pass is behind Adrian Peterson. 3rd down.
Well, we haven't seen Brett Favre get hit a lot, but Adewale Ogunleye, he came in, did a nice move over there on Phil Lodeholt, the rookie tackle. Got a pretty good hit there on Favre.
We showed the graphic earlier. 282nd consecutive regular season game for Brett Favre here today. That ties ex-Vikings defensive end Jim Marshall's NFL record for most by a non-kicker in the history of this league.
That's a record I just don't think will ever be broken.
On 3rd down and 10, Favre slings it and completes it. Bernard Berrien has been one of his favorite targets here today. 18 yards on 3rd and 10.
Boy, you watch this, and these routes that are being run by these receivers, there's just so much air out there for the ball to be thrown. The safety, Afalava, he overruns that, expecting Berrien to maybe run a comeback, and because he overran it, it created just a wide open window there for Brett Favre to lay that into Berrien. You know, Berrien's a guy that Chicago let go and never should have. They'd love to have him back.
Penalty flag on the play, and it's broken up by Hillenmeyer. Well, when you consider who Bernard Berrien was receiving passes from, it's, you know, no mystery as to why they were saying, okay, well, he takes off. Yeah, they wanted to bring him back, but the Vikings saw something they liked. He had the big year last year. It's an illegal shift.
Illegal shift, 2 men moving and not resetting. That penalty is declined. 2nd down.
When you're talking about Berrien getting passes from Chad Hutchinson and Craig Krenzel and different quarterbacks over the years.
What's your point?
The point is now he's catching balls from Brett Favre, and
I know.
Got 5
but I will tell you that you know, that staff, I don't think ever thought they were going to lose Bernard Berrien. I think they knew what they had, and then for whatever reason they were just unable to keep him.
What's your point?
He's pretty good.
That'll be 5 yards on the offense, I would think. I mean, the center just didn't snap it. Everybody else moved. We'll see.
False start Number 4, offense. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
That is the 9th Viking penalty of the game. You talk about a fan. The artist currently known as Prince is still here.
And he hasn't changed expression since we started showing him.
That might be a cutout. Changes his name more than his expression. Is it? Second and 15. Let's go down to Pam as Rice makes the catch.
Joe, Charles Tillman remains on the sideline for this series. He's taken some oxygen, had an ice pack on his neck at one point, but the Bears say he is just still being evaluated. Meantime, Zachary Bauman just limped into the locker room. We're waiting official word on his injury, and Orlando Pace has a groin injury, and he's questionable.
All right, Pam, thank you. So all players getting banged up in this game, and his defense now playing without Tillman. 3rd down and 8 for Brett Favre. It's been a day of conversions on 3rd down. Is that another? How about Percy Harvin? Is he tough? Going up to make the catch down the middle of the field, taking a hit and hanging on.
Well, let me show you why. The linebackers come up tough. They come linebacker tough, and then they've got to drop underneath that route. And because they were lined up in the line of scrimmage at the snap of the ball, it was just enough to hold them and allow then Percy Harvin to get in behind Hillenmeyer. Hillenmeyer in that coverage as the middle linebacker is responsible for deep middle. That's that Tampa Bay cover 2 that you hear so much about. But when you're up that tight at the line of scrimmage, even though it was a good job on his part because Percy Harvin has great speed, it just wasn't good enough.
How about 10 out of 14 on 3rd down for Minnesota? 71% they're converting on 3rd down against this Chicago defense and delay a game before the timeout.
Yeah, that happens a lot on a big play when you get something down the field, trying to get those big guys up front, the linemen back down into a huddle because they start that play clock immediately. It's not surprising to me, but I know it is for our viewers how many times a quarterback is rushed or is forced to burn a timeout after a big play for that reason.
Under a minute to go in this 3rd quarter. And there's more to be said about that catch by Harvin. Not just the coverage. Here's Peterson. And Hillenmeyer is on his back and drags Peterson down at the 9. I mean, how much would you, and did you as a quarterback, love a guy, young or old, and Harvin's a rookie, who will go up over the middle and make a catch in traffic, get a hit, and hang on?
Well, here's what's remarkable about Percy Harvin. You're absolutely right, Joe. You like that about anybody. But here is a guy who's a rookie. And I think outside of quarterback, playing as a rookie at wide receiver is the hardest position. And yet he's doing it without much experience, having run those types of routes there at the University of Florida. You consider all of that. It's pretty remarkable what kind of year he's had.
Closing in on the Offensive Rookie of the Year award is Percy Harvin. We are into the 4th quarter now. 17-point. Brett Favre has 382 yards passing in this game. That's only 20 yards off his career high.
And that's, I guess, the only thing I've ever done that he hasn't. I threw for more than that once.
Well, it came at Chicago, and we're just starting the 4th quarter. How much more will he play? Here is Peterson on 2nd down, takes it down inside the 5 to the 4. I mean, I think your Super Bowls count for something.
Yeah, no question. But you know, I think, Joe, if they're able to score here, then Favre will be done, and rightfully so. And you know, think back to last week against Seattle, and you know, for him to be able to come off of the field in that game and allow Tavares Jackson some playing time, that was key. I mean, one, because Tavares Jackson practices just like everybody else, and let him get out there and play. But you never know. I mean, and if he has to come back and play in a meaningful game, those reps are very important.
3rd down and goal. Is he going to get his 4th? That is Taylor, and what a good play. Good play made by Jamar Williams, the linebacker, who came up and drove right through the chest of Chester Taylor. to bring up 4th down.
Yeah, Jamar Williams in there because of Lance Briggs not being in the game, and comes over and makes a nice play here.
So now a 20-yard try by Longwell, a chip shot, 2 for 2 today, and 17 of 18 for the season. Now 18 of 19, 3 for 3 this afternoon against Chicago. It is 30-10. Vikings leading, about to move to 10-1 on the season.
Cheap. By State Farm, to us, nothing's more important than being there. And by Bud Light, with the just right taste that's not too heavy, not too light. The difference is drinkability.
.36 left in this game. The Vikings have now added to their lead. It's a 20-point lead, their biggest of the day. They have outgained the Bears 475 total yards to 169. And Ryan Longwell hit from 20 to cap that last drive that was highlighted on that 31-yard catch by Percy Harvin. And Johnny Knox, who has a fumble and a long kick return of 77 yards, is waiting for this one. Orlando Pace is back out sitting on the bench. We'll take inventory as to who's on the offensive line when the Bears offense heads onto the field. Knox can't make the 20. And we look at the numbers, time of possession, total yards, plays across the board, Troy, and that's what we came on the air talking about, that Brad Childress still thinks that better game is out there. This is pretty good this afternoon against the Bears.
Yeah, in fact, last week against Seattle, he thought that that was about as good a game as they had played up to that point. Still not a complete ball game, but I would agree with you. I think this is about as good as you can expect to dominate an opponent. So, you know, they got to feel good about that. I think when you start looking at these teams, whether it's New Orleans or Indianapolis, Minnesota, you start looking at what they do from this point forward, and do they continue to get better and play their best football.
Jared Allen gets another. You saw Kevin Schaefer now at left tackle. A tight end, Kellen Davis, was over there. And Jared Allen still fought his way through.
Well, what he did was they had 2 guys on him. They had Kellen Davis as well as Greg Olsen, but he jumps inside on Kellen Davis. And so even though there were 2 guys there to block him, he immediately eliminated Olsen's help and just went one-on-one there with Kellen Davis and went right by him.
Vikings have 3 sacks on the day. Jared Allen gets his first. He has 11.5 on the season. Number 1 in the NFC at the start of the day. 2nd and 19. And a little flip to Khalil Bell. And Khalil Bell gets a big hit from Adieu Williams. A gain of just 5.
I will say this about Jay Cutler. I mean, we've talked a lot about him here today. He's been scrutinized, as we well know. He continues to play. And people want to look at his body language and try to draw conclusions from that as to whether or not the game's important to him. I can promise you, you don't get to the NFL without being a competitor. This guy's as competitive as they come. And in games like this, and we've seen it all year, when the offense has done nothing, he continually is back there doing everything he can. Not always doing it well, but he competes play after play.
It's 3rd down and 14. Cutler has to avoid pressure and now just hop out of bounds. And he keeps peeling himself up off the carpet or off the grass and coming after the opponent, getting very little protection.
You know, Joe, a couple weeks ago when they lost to San Francisco at San Francisco, they had the long flight back all the way to Chicago. And when they arrived at about 5 a.m., most of the players, in fact all of the players, went home to get some rest. Jay Cutler went to the facility and watched the film after 5 interceptions. And that's something not a lot of people know, nor should they necessarily know it. It's what's expected of your franchise quarterback. But to suggest that he doesn't care about what he's doing out there, I think is grossly misstated.
Maynard with the punt. Reynaud with a fair catch. Vikings will have it at their own 31, up by 20. We'd like to welcome the men and women in uniform serving around the world, watching today's broadcast in 177 countries on AFN, the American Forces Network. Thanks for all you do, and we're hoping you're enjoying this telecast. If you are somewhere around the world rooting for the Vikings, I know you are. A 20-point lead, and Brett Favre is back to the field and handing off to Adrian Peterson. And Peterson just will not go down, out just across the 40. He gained 8. For the Vikings, this is the first time in their franchise history that they've had 5 different receivers have at least 5 catches in one game. Harvin, Rice, and Taylor with 6. Varian and Shenko with 5. Peterson, by the way, just has 2 catches. First time Brett Favre has ever done that in his 19-year career.
I think that speaks to just the number of weapons that this team has.
Second down and 2, and it's Peterson. He goes backward. Harrison made the stop. Jared Allen is over on the bench with a split lip, and in case it needed an explanation, here's how it happened.
You know, a lot of the writers and stuff today will ask, hey, what happened to all the characters? Where have all the characters in pro football gone? And it's a different game, and everything's so heavily scrutinized. He is one of the great characters in the game today. He did for the defense last year what Favre did for this offense this year.
Allen has a sack and an interception in this game as Adrian Peterson plows forward for a first down.
I think you're going to get a heavy dose of Adrian Peterson here on out.
And another third down conversion for this Vikings offense. 11 of 16. Meanwhile, Brett Favre is 19 yards away from a new career high throwing the football. So I don't know. I'm a little surprised that his career high is 402. I don't want to say just 402, but he's closing in on that. I don't know if he's going to get there, if he's going to have to throw the ball much more in this game as the Vikings try and take time off the clock. Here's one throw. That'll add to it. Varian gets his 6th catch, and that was 8 more yards. Bowman on the stop.
I mean, it's really kind of unfair. I mean, it certainly has been today for the Chicago Bears, but you know, it's been that way for virtually every team that they've played. I mean, everybody talks about wanting to be balanced, and yet the Vikings are one of the few teams that truly are. I mean, coming into this game, they were 10th in the NFL rushing the football, and they were 10th in the NFL throwing the football. And as we've witnessed in this game, they can just come at you with so many different things and people. How do you stop it?
Favre throws, and contact made on Shenko by Roach. Penalty flag is thrown. So the Vikings are still throwing the football around on second down and short, and Shenko was interfered with.
Pass interference, 53. Defense. Ball will be placed in the spot of the foul. First down.
And to me, Troy, the difference between the Vikings and any other team in the NFC, in particular, as Favre shakes out that right hand.
I'd get him out immediately.
Yeah.
I'd take him out right now.
But you think about the Saints, I mean, it's the running game that the Vikings have that sets them apart from the Saints in my mind, and obviously that defense and the defensive front that they sport here in Minneapolis.
And that's no slight on the Saints either, because they've gotten so much better on defense. I just think it comes down to where that game's played.
Here is Chester Taylor over the left side with Williams making the stop. Gain of 9. NFL doubleheader next week. The early games, Eagles and Falcons, Saints, Redskins, Lions, Bengals, Rams at Chicago, Bucks at Panthers, and then late, a big one at Giants Stadium. Cowboys and Giants, important in the NFC, and in the NFC East, the 49ers at Seahawks.
You know, we talk about the Vikings and Saints as though they're going to be the team that, you know, is having home field advantage. I wouldn't discount the Cowboys. You know, Eagles, I don't know, but at 3 losses with the Cowboys, you know, they're only 2 games back right now. You don't see Minnesota losing enough, but it could happen.
Here's an end around to Percy Harvin down to the 5. And now just emptying part of the playbook as Nick Roach made the stop. any way the Vikings can get the ball in the hands of Percy Harvin, they'll try and do it. And this one for Harvin gets a 1st and goal as a result. That last one, 10 yards on that end around for Harvin.
Yeah, I go back to kind of what I touched on a little bit earlier, Joe. I just think that the personnel department, Rick Spielman and his staff, the job that they've done putting together this roster in a short period of time.
Here is Peterson to the 5. The interesting thing is, with as well as this team is playing and all of the fan fervor that they have for this version of the Minnesota Vikings, the lease in this dome for this Vikings team is up in 2011. So that situation's coming to a head, and while it's Ziggy Wilf's ambition to come up with a retractable roof stadium, you know, you think about the Favre effect, mention it for Childress. Brett Favre might help this organization build a new stadium in 1 year.
Hey, Parcells got the stadium through in Dallas, and there's no reason to think that Brett Favre can't help in those efforts here in Minneapolis.
It's 2nd and goal. And off to Peterson, and he'll walk in, touchdown. So it's 36-10 with the extra point coming. That should be the end of the day for Brett Favre. 6.5 minutes remaining in this game, and this Chicago Bears defense has given up 518 total yards to the Minnesota Vikings. And they are over their season average, coming in number 2 in the NFL. The Vikings at basically 30.5 points per game. They trail just the Saints, who are under 37, and here's the only thing that didn't go right: an extra point.
So now they still haven't played a complete game.
That's right. 36-10 with 6.5 left. There's the day for Brett Favre, 10 yards shy of his career high, and you have to believe his day is finished. The Tennessee Titans on the last play of the game just beat the Arizona Cardinals. I'm sure we'll have a game break coming. An 0-6 start for Tennessee, and now they've won 5 straight. Danielle Manning on the return. 30-yard return by Manning. And the Bears offense is back to the field as they trail by 26. The defense is on the field. Jared Allen still in the game. Starting at their own 40, down by 26. And a toss to Forte. Running left, who's in on the stop. That was Heath Farwell out there to make the play. Let's go for the game break. Here's Kurt.
You mentioned it, last play of the game, Vince Young to Kenny Britt. Caps off an 18-play, 99-yard game-winning drive. Tennessee takes it 20-17 the final. Vince Young beats Matt Leinart on the last play again.
Not exactly John Elway against the Cleveland Browns, but wow, 99-yard drive. Here's Devin Hester, who has not been a factor in this game at all. Hema on the coverage. It's 3rd down and 9, and Vince Young, 387 passing yards in that game and 5 straight wins. Young has completely resurrected his career with the Titans.
No doubt. I mean, for him to come in and have the game that he had today, I mean, a lot of people question whether or not he can throw the ball the way that he threw it today, but good for him. I mean, that's a young man playing with a great deal of confidence right now.
Titans haven't lost since their head coach Jeff Fisher put on that Peyton Manning jersey. Maybe some other head coaches might want to try out that. As Jared Allen makes the play, he gets another sack. His 2nd of the day.
Well, he was working on Orlando Pace earlier. Now he's going to work out Kevin Schaefer, who came in and took his place. And I mean, you just can't put one guy on him, and I don't know why anybody thinks that you can, because he's proven everyone wrong who's tried.
We would like to welcome those of you who have been watching that thrilling game in Nashville. The comeback and the win by Vince Young and the Titans. They've won 5 straight. Here it has been all Minnesota, and I mean all Minnesota, as the punt is untouched by Raynaud waiting for it. 48-yard punt. We'll give you some of the numbers when we come back after the break. Brett Favre's day finished. Vikings up 26. There's the day. 518 yards of offense, the most against Chicago since 1982. And it has been everybody on offense for the Vikings, almost literally. Good defensive effort, a couple of interceptions by Cutler. He does have a touchdown pass. And whether it's been Peterson on the ground or Harvin or Rice or Berrien or Schenkel, Brett Favre pulling the trigger, it has been an impressive day for this Minnesota group on their way to a 10-1 start, and they will be interested observers tomorrow night. The Monday night game in New Orleans with the Patriots and the Saints. I mentioned 518 yards allowed by the Bears, the most since 1982. The December game against the LA Rams 428 games ago. And it's the 4th best day throwing the football yardage wise for Brett Favre, 392 yards against Chicago. Here's Chester Taylor running to his right, cuts it back as he got the toss from Tavares Jackson, who this season is 10 of 15, 159 yards, and last year helped take this Minnesota team into the playoffs, and they won the division at 10-6.
Yeah, but I think it was that performance in the playoff game that, you know, really pointed out to this organization that they needed to get better at that position if they could. They went out then and got Sage Rosenfels, but you know, in that game last year in the playoffs against Philadelphia, 164 yards passing, completed 42%, and they just really struggled putting anything together.
2nd down and 5, and Chester Taylor, free agent to be, is a yard short of a 1st down. We talked about the playoff picture with the 4 division leaders, and the Saints and the Vikings are the 2 big threats in the NFC right now. Arizona, they lost today. A lot of you just joined us from that game. The wild card leaders, 2 7-4 clubs, Green Bay and Philly, with the Giants behind them, and the Giants have a date at home against the Dallas Cowboys late next Sunday.
Big game next Sunday. And looking at those teams, I like the Green Bay Packers right now. I mean, it looks to me, if I was a bet man, I'd say they'll make it as a wild card team. And what we've seen the last couple of weeks, they're starting to pull it together.
Yeah, they're really hitting their stride as Adrian Peterson is back in the game and picks up a 1st down. Some other numbers from today's game. Percy Harvin, career best. It's his rookie year. 6 catches, 101 receiving yards, 45 rush yards. And in the second half, the Bears offense, and you heard Lovie Smith tell Pam Oliver, Pam told us that this is the big half of football and a must-win game. The offense in the second half, 12 plays, 2 yards, no 1st downs.
I think that's the disappointing part, Joe. They've not played well, but when you throw all your eggs in the basket and you say, hey, this is a must-win game, we have to win this to have any chance to salvage our season, and then you come out and play like this.
Yeah, they just came in here and got smoked. 3-yard gain by Peterson over the left side.
Sorry, Joe. Going back to Brett Favre, when he signed with the Minnesota Vikings, there was a lot of questions, and I'd say that I was one of them that was wondering how this AstroTurf, this field turf, was going to affect him. He's played all of his career there at Lambeau, grass field, and to come here and then be forced to play at least 8 games here at home on turf, and in talking with him, he said his body feels the best it's felt. I mean, it has not been a beating on him playing on a hard surface, whereas for so many other players, it's a real problem.
It's 2nd down and 8, and it's Adrian Peterson who just keeps churning those legs and gets another 1st down, and that will take us to the 2-minute warning. As we look at late game headliners now, Phillip Rivers' big day. Chargers took care of Kansas City. So much for the Chiefs getting momentum off that overtime win over Pittsburgh. Alex Smith and then Vince Young, 387 yards throwing it, and the touchdown to Britt to win it. 2-minute warning. Players for the Bears. Briggs with a knee. Tillman got dinged, and Orlando Pace with a groin injury. Now it's kneel down time for Tavares Jackson. Bears have all 3 of their timeouts remaining, but thankfully they're not choosing to use any of them. OT is coming up as Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy bring you exclusive interviews, extended highlights, and reveal the new BCS standings. America's #1 post-game show, the OT, presented by Lowe's, coming up right after this game here on Fox. You'll also hear from Vince Young, who led Tennessee on that 99-yard game-winning drive in that win today, and they have won 5 straight, trying to stay alive in the AFC. Bring up 3rd down. Upcoming schedule for Minnesota, they'll be 10-1, and they go to Arizona next. That'll be a night game. That game was taken by NBC. That's now a night game. Then at home against Cincinnati, at Carolina, at Chicago, and they will end the season at home against the Giants. And at some point, if the Vikings are in a situation, it'll be interesting to see how they play it with Brett Favre. If they're in one of those spots where they've clinched their division, they're as good as they can be, they can't overtake, let's say, New Orleans.
Right.
Does he play in a ball game?
Well, I don't think that he would, but in all likelihood, the way these 2 teams are going, you know, they may not know the answer to that one until the last weekend of the season.
Jay Cutler got off to a good start in this game, but it really fizzled after that. He was not protected at all. There is no ground game for the Chicago Bears, and the defense for Chicago didn't stop anything. You saw that quick look at their upcoming schedule. All you really need to know is they will host St. Louis next week and then host the Green Bay Packers. We are finished here in the home of the Vikings, who are 10-1. We'll take a break. We will come back and then eventually get you to the OT. Back after this, a convincing win for Brett Favre and the Vikings today.
550 yards of total offense. Most the Bears have given up since 1982. Vikings turned 3 Bears turnovers into 10 points. Favre and the Vikes look nearly unstoppable at 10-1. Bears stumble to a 4-7 mark. Well, now you can officially put a fork into the Bears season. Welcome to U.S. Cellular Bears Postgame Live. I am Pat Boyle. Mike Sy with 3 disgusted, bummed out former Bears. Mr. GQ, Jerry Azuma, our quarterback, Jim Miller, our lead blocker, Dan Jiggets. Bears needed a nearly perfect game to even have a chance to beat the Vikings. They didn't even come close. They are perfectly imperfect, and at 4-7, we can start looking ahead to next year.
I think so. I think you're going to expect to see a lot of young players in there. You're going to see a lot of changes on the offense and defensive side of the ball, and let's face it, I don't need to go any further than my opening statement. I mean, this is a must-win game, and to not show up today, I mean, that's what's more disappointing than anything. If you're a Bears fan, that's what concerns me the most.
And I think the other thing that's really disappointing is the guys that didn't show up.
Here's a look now live at the Metrodome as the players walk off, now at 4-7 on the year. Keep going there, Jiggs, you were saying?
Oh, it's just, you know, the guys you would hope the leaders would step up and have big games, and they failed as much as anyone else today. And you look at the offensive line, it was horrendous. Yep. You look at the defensive line, they played in spurts, but still when somebody is allowed to rack up almost 400 yards passing on you, that's a brutal game.
It just seemed like
I don't care who it is. Defensive backs, they were awful today. Linebackers, I didn't even know some of the guys that are out there in the field. We had to check the schedules and everything. Who's this guy?
Absolutely no sense of urgency at all. I mean, they just went out there and just laid an egg, and it's very disgusting to see. It's very hurtful to be a Bears fan right now because you would think that they would have pride to go out there, you know, and try to execute something, but they didn't come up with anything today.
And Orlando Pace was possibly the biggest disappointment, I think, of anyone today. And, you know, and I know he left the game a little bit later on with an injury. But, you know.
Yeah, a bruised ego and a groin problem. As always, we want to hear from you. Send us your comments. Some of them will appear at the bottom of our sports ticker. Keep them short, keep them clean. Go to csnchicago.com. Click on the Bears PGL icon. Or if you want to get us with your mobile device, email us at bearspgl@comcastsportsnet.com. But as always, we want to kick this show off with our opening kickoff. And for that, we start with Dan Jiggets. Jigs?
Well, now that things are officially over, we can't stop fooling ourselves and thinking about any playoff possibilities. Let's do this. Let's see if the Bears now are willing to take a step back, play the guys that you want to get a look at, evaluate what you have on your roster so that way you can make some intelligent decisions based on how guys play in NFL games in terms of what your personnel group is going to look like next year. Let's start to see what you've got now.
We'll get into that topic because I like where you're going with that. Also, for me, one, I wrote up, did the Bears play today? Because I didn't see anything out there. I thought, again, that's what's concerning to me is the lack of effort in a must-win game, and the team didn't show up. That has to be very concerning, and that has to be upsetting. And I got to believe the cattle prod is going to be going pretty hard this week up at Hallis Hall.
And my thing is execution. There was absolutely no execution around the whole board and all phases of this football game. It's totally, totally unacceptable, disgusting to see today. The Bears just go out there and basically, like I said before, just lay an egg. But especially on third down for defense, I mean, they were non-existent on third down. And that is just a down that's very critical. It sustains drives. And you know what? Brett Favre had a field day on third down. They were, what, 12 of 18 or something like that?
Well, the worst part about it was I was surprised they actually got the third down situations because a lot of times it's 1st and 10 and he'd hit something for 15 or 17 yards. And finally, it took him a little while to get around to a third down.
What's really disappointing is the fact that they were in third and long situations and just giving up, 16, 15 yards here, 22 yards there. That is just so disgusting to see.
Reminds me of the old John McKay saying, they said, what'd you think of your team's execution? He said, I'm in favor of it.
Yeah. When you look at an NFL team and you say, well, to beat them, you need to win or dominate one phase of the game. If I took the Bears depth chart and lined it up against the Vikings depth chart, you'd be hard-pressed to find a player on the Bears that you would take over the Vikings player. Maybe Lance Briggs in the linebacking core.
Although they have a pretty good linebacking group.
Right, true. Yeah. Maybe Peanut Tillman, but
you got Antoine Winfield.
Right.
He didn't have to play him today.
Right, and he could have played today. He missed his 5th straight game.
It speaks about the depth of the Minnesota Vikings and the talent of that football team. Antoine Winfield could have suited up today. He's a Pro Bowl cornerback. They said, you want to know what? We don't even need you. I mean, that's what Minnesota did today. That's a slap in the face to the Bears and their roster. They knew coming in, yeah, we should win this game pretty handily. We'll just let our guys rest up, get healthy, because we're going to need you for postseason.
It's like what Arizona did with Bolton, right? Remember, Bolton could have gone?
Exactly.
But, you look at it this way. Rick Spielman, I think I heard them talking about him today, is the architect of, this team. And he was here with the Bears, you may remember back.
He brought me in. Rick and Mark Hadley brought
exactly
me
right.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about while we wait now for Lovey and for Jay Cutler. Jay, couple more interceptions. Break those down for us, Jim.
Yeah, well, let's talk about, just think of the game overall as a whole. The Bears probably could have went in the game, believe it or not, at halftime, 14-14. When you look at it, they gave up 10 points, we know, in the first half with the turnovers. One, the missed touchdown to Johnny Knox. Got to throw it to the back of the end zone in the corner of the pylon. That was the only place for the ball to go. Jay underthrew it. It gets picked off. The second interception that was picked off by Jared Allen, guys covered. Can't throw it. Can't throw it through guys. Even Troy Aikman made a statement about Brett Favre in the game because his offensive linemen are so big. He said, well, hey, sometimes I don't throw the ball because if I don't have a passing lane and I don't see my receiver, I will not throw it. Right. Brett Favre will not do it. Everybody calls him a riverboat gambler, even Brett Favre.
After 19 years, he finally figured it out.
He's figured it out last year with 22 interceptions, just 3 thus far at 40 years old. Hard to believe he's playing some of the best ball of his entire career.
Another good point, but it says about Darrell Bevell and the Minnesota Vikings, when they got Brett Favre, what does he do well? What can we stay with? Because Darrell Bevell was his quarterback coach in Green Bay. Let's not call things that give Brett trouble. Let's just do what he does well. You would have thought Ron Turner and the Bears offensive staff would have went through every play with Jay Cutler last year out in Denver and broke it down and possibly called a lot of plays that he ran well.
Let's face it, too, the weapons he has. I mean, it's like an endless supply. Peterson, Harvin, Taylor, Rice, Berrien's now almost an afterthought. Schenko's turned into one of the best tight ends in the league, thanks to Brett.
Well, let's take a step back, though. When you look at Olsen and compare him to Schenko, their numbers are virtually the same. And let's remember, I think Olsen has 6 touchdown passes, I believe, in the season. You look at somebody like Devin Hester. How much of a difference is there between he and any one of these other guys. Sidney Rice at 6'5" gives them a real advantage with a wide receiver. But you know what? When you think about the personnel group there and you compare that to the specialists on the Bears, how much of a difference is there besides the quarterbacking situation?
Those guys are good players, but Brett Favre has made them better. You bring up Visante Shenko. Brett Favre has always used the tight end. Let's look at Green Bay. Mark Chimera. I mean, Bubba Franks, you name it. They had all those guys. But he's elevated their play, and I think that's what we expected Jay Cutler to do for the Bears. Not much help when your offensive coordinator doesn't call tight end left formations to give Orlando Pace some help, to give Jay Cutler some time in the pocket. And the only other thing I'll say about it, because Jay can elevate the play of this football team, I think where Jerry Angelo and the Bears really missed out, I think we all assumed this offensive line would be better than what it is. I think we could all say we witnessed it today. This offensive line has not come together all year.
Yeah, because we can talk about all the other guys all you want, but when the guys up front aren't getting it done on both sides of the football, if those guys aren't getting it done, you're not going anywhere. And we've seen it long enough to know that it's not happening here in Chicago this year.
Plenty of defensive problems as to Zoom. When you give up 551 yards of total offense, all the third down conversions, it speaks volumes to just where, everyone talked about the defense stepping up in recent weeks. They were stepping up against an Eagles team that struggled again today, lucky to win, and against a bad 49ers team.
But basically, this is the game where you're going to see what this defense is made of. They have a great running attack, and obviously they have Brett Favre and some great wide receivers, to pass the ball downfield. They basically just had holes all over the place, especially with cover 2. I don't know what's going on with this cover 2 system, but there are holes all over the place, especially in the middle of the football field. It seems like the underneath coverage is not getting enough depth, and they're not reading their keys. I mean, there's easy, simple plays that are out there, especially like in cover 3, where Bernard Berrien you see wide open. I mean, things like that shouldn't happen, because you should have the underneath coverage buzz into the flat area to take away that throw immediately. It just seems like their thought process is a little bit off, and they're not really thinking as well as they should be.
You broke down that first play, the first touchdown to Percy Harvin, where Corey Graham was in the nickel. And maybe take the viewers out there through that
I mean,
play.
basically what happened was you had the receiver that was right in the slot, and Corey Graham was on him. It was a cover 2, so you have to force that wide receiver to the outside release.
Because the middle of the field's open.
Because the middle of the field is open.
Lovey's addressing the media live at the Metrodome. Let's listen in on Comcast Sportsnet.
Early on, we were in the football game, I thought. Staying close with them. You have to give them a lot of credit. They're a good football team. Definitely dominated us today. Injury-wise, Lance Briggs, of course, went out with the knee. Charles Tillman, a head injury. Orlando Pace went out with a growing injury, and Alex Brown has a leg injury. Has some injuries that hurt us, but even before that, I don't think that had a whole lot to do with our play today. Offensively, of course, Brett Favre had a super game. Third down conversions really hurt us. Takeaways or turnovers on the other side of the football. Again, I'll take your question.
Lovey, there were problems on all sides of all 3 phases of the game. What do you hang your hat on about this team?
Today we had problems in all areas. What you hang your head on is the things that we hung our head on for the 4 wins that we've had this year. We're a better football team than that. I mean, we can make plays. Today we didn't have an opportunity. Well, we had opportunity. We had the opportunities. We really did. We're gonna hang our head on the things that we always have.
Lovey, how hard will it be to regroup after this one, especially with the injuries, if they're more serious?
Well, injuries are part of it. As far as regrouping, today, I mean, we feel like crap today. There's no way around it. It's not a feel-good that we have right now. But after a loss like that, that's how it is. But, the sun normally comes up. Assume it'll come up tomorrow. We'll go back to work. Have a lot of football left to go. Of course, our plan was to win out these next 6 games, getting this first one. That didn't happen. Now it's back to the practice field and try to get it next week.
Those third down conversions that Favre was able to get, more Favre or breakdowns defensively?
Hey, both. Great player, Hall of Fame player that played that way today. But you have to say that we didn't meet the challenge that he and the Vikings faced today. Kind of simple as that.
Second quarter kind of epitomized the season, all the problem mistakes, and really kind of up to it.
You can say that. Just a game in general. In it, early, haven't been able to finish.
Missed opportunity after halftime when you had that long kick return in short field?
Yes, missed opportunity there. We had a few missed opportunities. Every question you ask me is going to be a similar answer. Yes, missed opportunities, didn't play well, need to play a lot better. We're hurting right now, but we have football left to go. Again, we're men. men go through tough times sometimes, and that's where we are right now.
What can you talk about Jay's performance?
You know, just like the rest of our team, you know, Jay did some good things today with it. Like to have a couple passes back. Jay, everyone was kind of in this same boat today. Done a whole lot of good I can talk about.
Is there any concern, Lovey, that the performances have led to this performance, that there is this idea that you're kind of collecting a tidal wave here?
Can't look at it that way. I think today you have to just judge the game based on what we did today. We didn't play well today. Last week, we were in the football game. I mean, we met the challenge. So we haven't been in this situation. We've been in a situation a couple times this year. But the rest of the time, you know, I think we've met the challenge. We just hadn't been able to get a couple wins.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be bringing Jay.
That's Lovey after the 36-10 drubbing. His team drops to 4-7. Here is the final stats. 537 total yards. We got 551. We'll take a look at that. Rushing $159 to just 43. Look at the time of possession, guys. This is a completely lopsided stat board. Certainly resembles the final score.
You've got young kids at home, cover up the screen right now.
31 first down.
Because it's not supposed to look like that.
Wow.
We're waiting. Jay Cutler, he's going to address the media shortly. Let's take a look at his stats. 18 of 23, 147 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Biggest thing you'd say in his is ill-advised throws through to guys that were covered, right?
Yeah, 2 bad throws, and then what happened when the wheels started to fall off. Again, the interesting statistic. I heard Tom Thayer coming into town today. When the Bears have thrown the ball only 53 times with the lead. Jay Cutler now has over 400 passes while coming from behind, because I think we know you got to push the ball down the field a little bit more. Protection's breaking down. They're having to hold their blocks a lot longer. Look good early, and then the wheels just fell off when the Bears fell behind.
And let's take a look at some of the emails as we await Jay Cutler at the Metrodome. This one comes from Tim in Chicago. Who's to blame for this mess, and what steps need to be taken to field a competitive team? Terrible display of football. Enough already. There are hundreds like that. Ken in West Dundee chimes in. I'm done watching this team until we get a new coaching staff. Yeah. I think, guys, we're going to see a lot of comments like this over the final stretch here. Fire Lovey now. No heart, no pride. Unacceptable for a Chicago team. What do you say to some of this, Jiggs?
I would say this, because I think Jiggs hit on it there. One, if the Bears are going to play young players, or let's say they go and start attacking practice squads around the NFL, that is under the assumption that Lovie Smith is your head coach, because you can't go out and start signing talent from other teams unless you assume the head coach is in place, because then they could keep their defensive philosophy intact.
Yeah, but see, either way, you've got to get better.
Yeah,
so
I agree with that.
You know, even if Lovey's coming back or if he's not coming back, I think you still have to find out, number one, what you've got, and number two, what's available out there. Because remember, you don't have a number 1 and a number 2 in the draft. So that means you've got to try to find some hidden jewels somewhere, maybe in somebody else's practice squad or somebody that's going to be released later on.
Here's what I would differ with that, is because think of what Jim Schwartz is doing for the Detroit Lions. He's overhauling the whole team. He basically wants the bigger, stronger guys, and he's had to overhaul it from Rod Marinelli. Unless Jerry Angelo has a good assumption, if he is going to go tag a new head coach, they'd have to know what philosophy to target if they are going to go after practice squad guys from other teams. The guys they have here, yeah, throw them in there. I want to see Jerron Gilbert. I want to see Frank Omiel tackle. I want to see Chris Williams over at the left tackle spot. I would try everything to see what these guys can do.
Along those lines, if you're trying to figure out, you're the McCaskey family trying to figure out what to do with this franchise, why not bring a consultant in? Would you think of doing that? Yeah. I mean, it's going to disrupt some things inside those 4 walls at Hallis Hall, but it's a way of at least getting a third party who's not aligned with the GM and not aligned with the coaching staff, who can say, look, this is what I think is in the best interest.
The way that you have to look at it is, above and beyond, feelings and friendships and all the rest of that. Let's get down to the cases. This is a business, and this is a business in which you get paid to win. And when you're not winning, you've got to pull out all the stops to figure out why and how to correct it, and then get it corrected. And if that calls for bringing in a consultant and that hurts somebody's feelings, so be it. Our feelings are hurt when you have to sit there and watch something like this. So whatever you've got to do to make this team better, go do it.
Jiggs and I were talking about reclamation projects. Bill Parcells is available down in Miami. You know, he's out of that contract basically from Stephen Ross. He can walk away at any point. There is no coach, or former coach, I should say, better in NFL history than Bill Parcells at reclamation projects. Maybe keep your eye on him because Jerry Angelo and him do have ties.
Holmgren also looking for a gig right now. Jay Cutler is set to address the media live at the Metrodome. Let's take you there on Comcast Sportsnet.
Jay, how do you explain this one?
It's a tough one. So you again. It's a tough one. You know, I wouldn't expect this. I thought we had a good week. You know, we went against a really good football team. We knew that going into it, and you know, we didn't play up to our standards.
Missed opportunities was the phrase that Lovey used over and over again, particularly after the opening kickoff to start the second half.
Yeah, we missed some opportunities that whole game. I think we missed opportunities this whole season.
Talk about the interception in the end zone, please.
It was an interception. Yep.
Underthrown.
I gotta go back and look at it. Probably.
How much did the last 3 minutes of the first half change the game?
You know, we were hanging in there. You know, we had a couple turnovers. You can't do that against a team like this. They're going to take advantage of that, especially with the talent level they have on the offense side of the ball.
You and Favre talking over before or after the game?
Yeah, we talked a little bit.
Jay, did you get a sense that it was going to turn into kind of a track meet that you had to keep up with them?
I don't know. You never really know how it's going to go. Sometimes, you know, it starts off fast and then kind of levels off. Sometimes it gradually gets going. So, I mean, you never know. It's a 4-quarter game. It can go anywhere.
What's there to look forward to now with 5 left?
You know, we've got to take it one game at a time. We've got to go back to work. We just got to concentrate on the next one coming up.
How hard is this?
It's tough. It's tough. With as good a football team as I think that we have in here, and then to go out week after week and not live up to, you know, our own expectations. That's a tough part.
You had some changes on the offensive line, one to start the game and obviously one within the game. Is that difficult?
Those guys are fighting. They're doing the best that they possibly can. You know, we're trying to help them out with you know, getting the ball out of their hands a little bit quicker. So it's a give and take process.
I feel like early in the game you were in a groove. You completed, I think, about 95% of your passes until the interception.
Yeah, they were short ones. You know, we got Johnny on a go route against single high. So we were doing a good job of, you know, just getting the ball out of my hands, letting those guys do their thing. So, but you know, like I said, turnovers will kill you in this game.
Was the plan early to go no huddle to just get that rhythm?
We don't know. You know, we knew we were going to do it. Exactly what time in the game or what you know, what quarter, that hadn't really been decided yet. Cool. Thanks.
Jay Cutler after the 36-10 defeat at the Metrodome today as the Bears fall to 4-7 now on the year. Taking a look at Jay drive by drive. You heard Dan Pompei allude to it in the first quarter. He started out strong, 3 of 3, although they did have to punt there. Got things going a little bit in the second quarter when they tied the game. A nicely thrown ball to Johnny Knox there for the 24-yard pitch and catch.
Yeah, beautiful. Just a little go route on the outside over corner. Benny Sapp, who was filling in for Pro Bowler Antoine Winfield. That's perfect placement by Jay, and you thought maybe, hey, that would start to jumpstart some better things to come, but it was not.
You know, it's too bad they didn't go back to that in that second time when he went to Knox in the end zone, as you mentioned in the green room. You would think that they go back to that same combination. They went to the other side and got an interception because of it.
Where is a bright spot on this team? And I don't mean to just say that sarcastically or flippantly, but Robbie Gould. Okay. You know, and I guess we saw some good stuff from the return game, although Knox fumbled the one big return that, you know, would have certainly, you know, kept. This team had limited margin for error to even compete with the Vikings today, and you know you can't turn over the rock.
You look at how things unravel, and you go back and you think back to what happened in the first half and the opportunities that you gave away. And this is what happens in every game now for the Bears. They have situations where they can hang in a game for a little while, then they throw an interception, fail to take advantage of the defense's opportunities when they give them a turnover in decent field position, maybe get a field goal out of if they're lucky. They get the ball down the 8-yard line and end up with a field goal. How can you do that after a 77-yard return?
Right.
That's where you've got to take advantage of the opportunity that's presented to you. And if you can't get 1 yard, then you really need to do a little heart check up there and find out what you've got up front.
Yeah, we joked, it gets to the 8-yard line. I'm like, well, they'll settle for 3. And I mean, it's sure enough, if you take a look at the first and goal at the 8 after the Knox big return, they go Forte no gain. You had a Cutler sack, a Pace false start, and another Cutler sack.
If any area of the field was more important, that's when Orlando Pace just started to get worked by Jared Allen. You got to give him help. That's the only way you're going to get.
And we knew that going in.
Right.
So why didn't they? I mean, is it easier said than done?
It's almost like, and I can tell you because I was in that position once. It's almost like they don't want to accept it, the fact that somebody's going to need some help. When you're working against a guy that's that good, you're going to need some help. And Orlando Pace needed some help today because after a while, I mean, they're taking 5-step drops and Jared Allen's just running straight to the quarterback.
All right, well, keep firing in your emails to csnchicago.com. I'm going to read as many as I can. We'll get as many as we can on the bottom line, and we'll tee these guys up as we look to move on to basically to 2010 after the 36-10 defeat, dropping the Bears to 4-7. Here's a look at our U.S. Cellular Bears postgame live poll question. If you could take one position or unit from the Vikings, what would it be? A, their offensive line. B, their defensive line. Their quarterback Favre, their running backs, Adrian Peterson and Chester Taylor, or the wide receivers and the tight ends. Log on to csnchicago.com. Give us your thoughts on today's loss. We'll have the results to our poll question coming up later in the show. Football programming on Comcast Sportsnet is brought to you in part by the newest member of the Lancer family, the all-new Mitsubishi Lancer Sportback. I am Pat Boyle. I know we've been saying it for the last few weeks, but we really meant it today. The Bears in must-win mode, realistically needing a 6-game win streak to close the regular season and have any shot at reaching the postseason. Bears visiting the 9-1 Vikings. Lovey came in 5-5 against the Purple People Eaters. First drive for the Vikings, little handoff to who else? Adrian Peterson. It's questionable coming into today's game. Hunter Hillenmeyer with the strip. The Bears recover for a turnover, but they would go 3 and out. Later in the first, Bears facing 3rd and 1. Handoff to Forte, going nowhere. The Bears will punt after another 3 and out. Vikings now with the rock, 3rd and 7. Favre slings it to a lonely Bernard Berrien there. Finds a soft spot there in the zone. 22-yard gain. Then on 1st and goal, Favre rolling out. Alafalava puts the pressure on and takes him down. All right, so they might hold him to a field goal, but hold on here. That would end the first quarter. First play of the second quarter, Favre dropping back and finding the rookie, Percy Harvin, over the middle in the end zone. Perfect spot. Should have paid for it there. Maybe get a little knockdown there from Payne or somebody else. The Bears respond. The next drive, Cutler 2. Johnny Knox, 24 yards. Jim, nice toss here.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good ball placement by Jay Cutler on that one. Buys himself time in the pocket and puts it at the only place it can be thrown. Back pylon of the end zone.
So Knox makes it a 7-7 game. Next drive, 3rd and 3, Favre to Chester Taylor gets to the pylon. So the Vikings take a 14-7 lead. On the ensuing kickoff, Johnny Knox back to receive it. And the ball will come loose as he hits the 30-yard line. Vikings recover the fumble. They would get a field goal, take a 17-7 lead. Lovey would challenge. Why challenge here?
Well, I think, you're just grabbing at straws right now. Anything to motivate his team. He was hoping maybe the officials got it wrong, but clearly Johnny Knox wasn't down.
Next drive for the Bears, Vikings 23. This was a backbreaker. You're down by 10, maybe a chance to bring it within 3, and just a poor decision here. He's covered, Jim.
He underthrows the football. If anything, it's got to be like the last one. Throw it to the back part of the pylon. But I'd question this also. You just hit it on Benny Sapp. Why are you going at the better corner in Cedric Griffin? I'd like to go at Benny Sapp again.
Bears driving in. Cutler looking for Earl Bennett. Popped into the air. Jared Allen comes down with it, and he tries a little lateral there. Illegal forward pass. Either way, it's a turnover for the Bears. The Vikes would take advantage. Favre to Sidney Rice. Little back shoulder there. big gain of 33 yards. A few plays later, it's 3rd down, and Favre looking for his tight end.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a little Y stick route, and he's able to get across the goal line. That's how you hammer it into the tight end.
24-7, the lead at the half of the Vikings. Opening kickoff of the second half here. Here, Knox takes it at the 15, breaks through the initial line, down the sideline, juggles the ball there for a second, and he finally gets forced out around the 8-yard line. So big play, but Bears could do nothing with it. 2nd and goal. Cutler looking to pass, under pressure, taken down for a sack. On 3rd and goal, Cutler in trouble again. It's Pat Williams coming away with a sack on this one. The Bears would settle for 3 points after having 1st and goal at the 8. Vikings driving, toss play to Peterson. Comes down the sideline here, another strip. But take another look. Hillenmeyer touches the ball while he's out of bounds. Childress challenges it, and the play's reversed.
Yeah, 2 times Hunter Hillenmeyer did a good job standing up Adrian Peterson, knocking the ball out. Just unfortunate for the Bears that this one goes against them. This could have been a momentum changer.
They get 3 more points on the drive. Bears next possession, 3rd and 1. Cutler tries to sneak, short. So they don't convert on the 3rd and 1. I know there's 6.5 to go in the 3rd. You think about going for it there?
I think Lovey did think about going for it.
You should go for it. I mean, you're 4 and 6.
Well, it's a must-win game.
Well, 3rd and 8 now, midfield. Favre guns it to Harvin. 25 yards on that play. Set up another field goal. It's 30-10. 4th quarter. Jared Allen breaking through the line, and he's all over.
Yep.
Jay Cutler.
Look at Kevin Schaefer. I mean, Jared Allen was giving the left tackles to the Bears. He was absolutely working them today.
Then it's Adrian Peterson. Had a hard time holding on the rock a couple times on this day, but he gets to the end zone, continues his great play now in 5 games. He has 9 touchdowns against the Bears. 36-10 is your final as the Bears fall to 4 and 7. All right, from the Bears' perspective, where do you go from here?
I think you got to try some young players at some different positions. A left tackle, I think we witnessed today, is a problem spot. Let's try Chris Williams over at the left tackle spot. Hey, we drafted him in the 1st round a couple years ago. Let's see if he can be our shutdown left tackle. Frank Amael is actually better suited to play tackle. I'd like to see him trying out the right tackle spot. When you look at the defensive side of the ball, Jerron Gilbert, all the draft picks, let's see what these young guys can do, because I think we know right now some players will be moving on from this football team.
Obviously, Jay Cutler has gotten off to a rough start here in Chicago. The 20 interceptions now in the league, worst in the National Football League. Is there any chance that we could be seeing some long-term damage done to his, I'll say psyche, but you know, there's going to be a lot of negative feeling towards this guy right now, certainly the coaching staff, but you know, is there anything that the Bears have to do to guard against that, realizing that this guy's going to be here for a long time?
Right. Hey, we know he's going to be here. Jerry Angelo went out on Lynn. They just gave him the extension. We're going to see what Jay Cutler's made of. One, what type of offseason is he going to have? How hard is he going to work? And how is he going to bring this offensive team together? He needs to be the leader of this group. It's not we. It's, hey, I got to get these guys going. And, yeah, we're going to do it as a whole. But Jay has to be proactive in getting this offense better. I really believe that.
Did you ever think we'd be sitting here with the Vikings 10-1, Brett Favre having his best statistical year in 19 seasons, and Jay Cutler on the other end when all this went down this summer?
I thought it was going to be a good marriage with Minnesota because Darrell Bevell was his quarterback coach over in Green Bay, but I don't think anybody could have planned for how it's just fallen apart for the Bears. There is a lot of work to do, and clearly I think we overstated how good this team could be.
So 36-10 is your final. Bears fall to 4 and 7. They now have dropped 6 of their last 7. Time for another break here. Player reaction around the corner. We'll talk to CSNChicago.com writer John Moon Mullen. Give up 583 and they only scored 26 off of 583.
Never confuse activity with accomplishment. That's what it was. Come on now.
During the strike,
everybody knows that.
Is there a different scoring system? Touchdowns worth 4? Wow. You know what? You were talking about the second half here. Talk about a difficult time. How many possessions? 4 possessions, 3 3-and-outs.
Yes.
0 first downs?
0 first downs. Their very first possession in the second half was basically resulting in a field goal.
But a little bit more than 7 minutes of possession in the second half.
7 quality minutes.
7 quality minutes. That's it.
Do you think Prince was impressed by the Bears on this day?
He probably wants to take him and play some basketball.
Then he's gonna cook him up some pancakes.
Skins and blouses.
Game blouses. Well, you know, I'm not gonna say it, but rookie safety Al Afalava, 8 tackles. He had a sack on this day, and an interview with our Kip Lewis.
All right, thanks, guys. Back here at the Metrodome with Al Afalava. Al, you guys knew you were going to have your hands full with Brett Favre in this offense. Just talk about what you guys did defensively in this game.
No, we played hard, you know, but didn't play hard enough. You know, we needed more turnovers, and I think we only had 1. And Coach Lovey reminds us, you know, we need to take the ball away more so we can get the ball to the offense. And I think we only had 1. So
you knew coming into this game, you guys said, hey, we've got to take away something. You know, we can't let them both pass and run. You guys did a pretty good job against Adrian Peterson. Was that the #1 thing you guys wanted to make sure you took care of in this game?
Oh yeah, you know, we got to take away the run and pass. You know, you got Adrian Peterson and then Brett Favre. So you know, we focus on trying to do both. But you know, didn't play hard enough.
How tough is it? How tough was it to keep that passing game in check with all the weapons and the type of throws that Brett was making in this game?
You know, he made some great throws, and you know, we just got to go in, learn from this film, and start getting ready for St. Louis.
How tough is it for you guys to keep getting up? It seems like you guys have killed yourselves in so many games. How can this team come back and play at a high level from here on out?
We got to believe. We got to play. We got to have heart, and we got the leaders for it. You know, Lance Briggs always reminds us we got to believe, and it's a 5-game season, and we're gonna take 1 game at a time from here on out.
Coming into this game, you guys talked about, hey, it's a 6-game season. If we win out, we have a chance to get to the playoffs. Now, if you win 5 games, probably still not a shot to get in the playoffs. Is it about pride from here on out for you guys?
Oh yeah, it is. You know, we're gonna take 1 game at a time, and you know, hopefully we can get win each week. We gotta just focus on one team and focus on St. Louis, and then hopefully win 5 games, and we'll see what goes from there.
All right, Al, appreciate your time, guys. Tough day for the defense. Brett Favre just 10 yards away from a career high for him, but they do keep Adrian Peterson in pretty good check here at the Metrodome. Let's go back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Kip, thank you very much. Here's a look at AP. In his 5 games now in his career against the Bears, he's rushed for over 630 yards, 639 to be exact, almost 6 yards per carry, 9 touchdowns, and I guess the most important stat, 4-1. He does have an issue with securing the football. It's something that, you know, if he wants to make his way to Canton, which a lot of us assume he will, he's got to do a better job with that.
Yeah, you know, and then again, Troy Aikman talked about it during the course of the game. You know, he always keeps the football in his right hand, and when you go to the left side of that field, you want to keep it on the side facing the out-of-bounds side. So he has that problem.
Time now to go live to the Metrodome in Minneapolis. That's where our Kip Lewis is standing by with cornerback Zach Bowman, who had 7 tackles in the loss. Take it away, Kip.
All right, thanks, guys. I can tell you still a pretty quiet locker room in there, as you can expect. If we would have said, hey, you hold Adrian Peterson to 85 yards on 25 carries, you guys probably would have felt pretty good about that.
With a win, yes, but with a loss, I mean, you know, it's just not acceptable. I mean, you know, even though, you know, we held him to 85 yards, you know, we just got to do a better job in the passing game. So, you know, that's one thing that we're going to go in and get corrected.
One of the things we talk about with you guys each and every week is just getting off the field. It was tough for you guys today to get off the field and hold them to some 3-and-outs.
I mean, you know, in the first quarter we did. I mean, you know, we was out there, you know, we just playing all out. I mean, you know, basically fighting. But in the second, third, and fourth quarter, I mean, you know, we just got to keep doing what we did in the first quarter.
How tough was it to contain Favre and those wide receivers in this game? Obviously, he had a pretty big game, 392 yards.
I mean, you know, that's Brett Favre. I mean, you know, you got to give him credit, you know, for what he did. He's a veteran. And his receivers also did a good job, too. I mean, you know, the receivers and the tight ends and the backs, you know, they all did an exceptional job in catching the ball and making the plays.
5 games to go in this season. How does the defense in particular get better from here on out? What do you guys have to do?
Go in on Monday, watch the film, and get everything corrected and get back to work on Wednesday.
Going into this game, you guys said, hey, if we win 6 games, we got a shot to get into the playoffs. Now, with this loss, what's the attitude?
Keep fighting. You know, still win all the games that we can win, and you know, we'll just go from there.
Zach, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, guys, Zach Bowman here at the Metrodome. Let's go back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Kip, thank you very much. We'll send it back out to you in Minneapolis so when you get more player reaction after another tough loss. Let's take a look at Brett Favre now and how he stacks up with some of the elder statesmen in the National Football League. Quarterbacks over the age of 40. He joins Warren Moon now with 24 touchdown passes. Moon did it with 25 back in 1997, so Favre will shatter that. And taking a look at the passing yards back in that same year, Moon with 3,678 yards. Vinny Testaverde, a few years back with 3,500. Now Brett Favre certainly in contention and playing indoors with a team like that, you know, he's just able to work it around. We talked a little bit about it on the set. You thought he was going to do well in this environment with this team, but what is he doing, say, this year that he didn't do last year with the Jets?
Well, I think everybody knows about his decision-making, but first let's talk about young quarterbacks. Think who Brett Favre was under up in Green Bay. Mike Holmgren, Andy Reid, John Gruden, Steve Mariucci. I mean, he was under some pretty darn good coaches, and that has served him well, and he's gotten a lot of them some extensions on their contracts, including Brad Childress. But, you know, they're minimizing the things where he has trouble. You know, coming from Green Bay, Darrell Bevell, again, is now his offensive coordinator, was his quarterback coach, said, hey, this is what Brett does well. We're going to accentuate these plays, and we're going to minimize where Brett runs into trouble and throws interceptions. So you got to give him all the credit in the world because the quarterback has made all the difference in the world for the Minnesota Vikings.
And, you know, and I said when they signed, I said the Minnesota Vikings are now a Super Bowl quality team because they're so well balanced on both sides of the ball and even on special teams. But let me tell you something. This comes down to when you look at the Vikings offense, let's just take the offense for a moment. What has made a huge difference? I think when you look at their offensive line, when you go across the board, you've got McKinney and Hutchinson, and then they lose Matt Burke, who was a perennial Pro Bowler at center. They replace him with a guy named Sullivan, John Sullivan, I think his name is. I don't really know where he came from, but all of a sudden he can get in the middle of that line and play like crazy, and he's a young guy. Then they have one of their guards out, Herrera's out today. They put another guy, Hicks, in there, and they just continue rolling on the other side. Lodeholt, the guy who was a second-round pick, an offensive tackle, 6'8", about 340 pounds out of Oklahoma. Now, why can you find somebody like that in the second round and you can't find somebody like that in the first round here?
And they have a guy in the front office that's been one of the architects, the guys molding this Vikings team. What they've done in the last few years off the field to get this team in position right now to make a run at the Super Bowl is impressive. Time now to bring in CSNChicago.com writer John Moon Mullen from the Metrodome. 36-10 the final, Moon. They dropped to 4-7. I guess it's time to start looking towards next season.
Yeah, I think a few of them are. In fact, it was interesting just chatting briefly with Olin Kreutz, and he basically said, you know, where do you go from here? And he said, well, you go back to work. But it was kind of with an eye toward you have to get better, because if you're not doing that, you don't belong in the NFL. So I won't say they're starting to look toward next season, but you better get better, or this year this is going to be repeated. Once again, as it's been in the last few weeks, pretty down locker room.
Hey, John, Dan Jiggets, and I'm wondering, hey, you know, what's the talk surrounding the team in terms of what's going to happen? Because obviously this didn't come as a surprise, a huge surprise to anyone. There's got to be some people looking over their shoulders now and wondering what's next for them. You know, you look at the coaching staff, you look at certain players, and you know, there are going to be some changes made. There's no question about that. Where do you think those changes will be?
You know, Danny, I'll be very surprised if anything happens way at the top. You know, they're not going to fire Ted Phillips. They're not going to fire Jerry Angelo after the season. The Bears have never fired a head coach in season in the franchise history. So Lovie Smith's not going anywhere. I'll be shocked. You know, let's face it, they're probably going to beat the Rams. They'll probably beat the Lions. It'll be bad, but it won't be. You know, they were 5-11 Lovie's first year. The clear, obvious situation is on offense. You know, the team that gets 2 yards in the second half, even against the Minnesota Vikings, has some major problems, and they gutted the defensive staff last year. I'd be shocked if it doesn't happen this year. The one thing that might work against doing anything rash right now with Ron Turner, you remember 3 teams, you know, they jettisoned their offensive coordinator right in the preseason, and they were all terrible during the season. So an immediate fix, at this point, you might be just as well to play it out because everything is going to be thrown up for grabs. Are you going to send a real message by firing Ron Turner right now? I'd be a little shocked if that were to happen.
I wasn't talking about right now. I'm talking about, as things develop as we head into the off season, because we are at that point now where we have to start thinking about the off season.
Hey, John, Jim Miller here. Go ahead.
Jimmy.
Well, hey, John, Jim Miller here. John, let me finish my question here.
We're working like the Bears offense right now. False start, left side.
I'm trying to get a yard on the quarterback sneak right now, John. So stick with me on this one. When you look at the Bears, even Brett Favre, here, we know 17 years in the NFL. Every series, he's over on the sideline talking to Darrell Bevell. His offensive coordinator was over there. His quarterback coach was over there. Even the head coach came over for a powwow after a series. I've been noticing a trend for the Bears. When the Bears go to the sideline on the series, I saw Jay Cutler on the phone today clearly talking to Ron Turner, but where is Pep Hamilton into the mix where they're going over the looks, the plays, things that they're going to do on the next drive?
Well, what I've been told is that really Jay Cutler doesn't have a whole lot of respect for Pep Hamilton. He doesn't have when Brad Childress was an effective quarterback, a coordinator, an offensive coach, and Brad is clearly so comfortable with his coordinator here as a guy he's familiar with. There's none of that here. That is almost a gimme. Like we were talking before about that with Danny. After the season, I would be stunned if Pep Hamilton's back next year. And probably the biggest reason is your franchise quarterback has to have confidence in the guys he's working with, and right now he just doesn't.
That seems like it's almost, and I understand, how you have to work and you have to have that relationship. But when you throw as many interceptions as Jay Cutler's thrown this season, I would think that sometimes the quarterback coach might look at him and go, "What are you doing?"
Are you allowed to do that? The way the quarterbacks seem to be treated sometimes, no offense, Jimmy, they're thoroughbreds. You can't really jerk their reins too hard. I don't agree with that, but that may be part of the thinking. Well, he's a little fragile right now. We don't want to yell at him and send him to his room without dinner or something like that. But the mix there is just wrong. There's so many things going wrong. And this is not an excuse for Jay Cutler, but Ron Turner told me that he said on that second. You remember when they had the 1st and goal at the 8? Well, the second play, a receiver ran a wrong route. I mean, there's just so many breakdowns, which unfortunately is going to domino back, I think, to the coordinator because somebody's going to have to pay the price for that sort of thing.
All right, Moon, I think we're all on the same page that it looks like, Ron will eventually be the fall guy, that the changes will be made, certainly with the offensive coordinator. But let's not forget, against the Vikings today, the Bears defense gave up 537 total yards of offense. The most the Bears team has given up since 1982. This is Lovey's scheme. This is now Lovey calling the plays. What needs to be done schematically with that? Is it players or is it scheme?
Yes. Yeah, all of the above. I mean, when it's that bad, when it's that bad, you cannot point to a player. The third downs are terrible, first downs are terrible. Pick a problem, any problem. They're not going to be able to make all those changes. The one thing I will say, remember that first quarter, the defense was on the field for 11 minutes, 11:05, I think, for the first quarter. Eventually, they're going to start wearing it. You cannot leave your defense on the field that long against Brett Favre. By extension, the defense needs to get off the field once in a while. I think the biggest concern are some of the 3rd and long conversions. The reality is, too, they're playing with an inexperienced secondary. I think I won't say they're going to write off this season as a learning experience for these guys, but sometimes you just have to look at it that way. Between Al Afalava, Zach Bowman, that's half your starting secondary that's not really NFL hardened yet. So let's give them at least a little bit of time. Unfortunately, it's a little bit painful.
John, any tidbits or nuggets out of that Bears locker room that we might see in your work on CSNChicago.com?
Oh, one of the players walked by me out here in the hallways whistling "Bear Down, Chicago Bears." I wasn't sure if he was trying to buck up his spirits or whistling past the graveyard or whatever this was. But you got somebody like Adewale Agunleye. I said, "Listen, I got to get out of here." He said, and he stopped for a second and said, "I'm hurting up here." So I think it's dark times at Hallisall right now.
I think we're all hurting right about now, John. Thanks a lot. Safe travels back, and we'll look forward to seeing your work on CSNChicago.com. As we step aside, be sure to head to CSNChicago.com every Monday night at 7 for Monday Night with Moon, a live interactive chat with CSNChicago.com beat writer John Moon Mullen. You'll find out Lovey and Jay Cutler's post-game press conferences there. right now. So check it out. It's on csnchicago.com along with Jerry Azuma and Jim Miller's blogs.
Dex, I need an internet cafe. Surf and Perk. It's open 24 hours.
Dex, I broke a heel.
Oh, love your souls. 5 blocks down. Repairs while you wait.
There you are. Dex, I need to find Millinger's Flower Shop.
Chestnut and Browning. Can't miss it.
Dex, you know everything. Come on.
Oh, no.
The AT&T Real Yellow Pages, published by Dex, your most complete local info.
It's the best shopping of the year, the Mercury Wishlist Sales Event, with great deals and great leases on Mercury cars and SUVs built with quality that Honda and Toyota can't beat, like the Mercury Milan, the most fuel-efficient midsize sedan in America, or Mercury Mariner, with an EPA-estimated 28 mpg, and both have exclusive sync technology.
Now get a Mercury Milan with 0% financing plus $1,000 bonus cash during the Mercury Wishlist Sales Event.
You've got to put Mercury on your wish list.
Decorating for the holidays is a true joy thanks to Walgreens.
Hey, how about an extra hand?
How about an extra arm?
Great.
They have all the lights and decorations you need, all at great prices, so you can really do things up right.
Something's missing. A little to your right.
Go to Walgreens.com to receive $15 off your online order of $75 or more and get free shipping. Walgreens, there's a way to find your joy.
Basically, it's about symmetry.
I'm good.
Be honest here, man.
Fuck it. I'm good.
My bad. I'm good.
I'm the man!
I'm good.
Ready? No.
Men can take anything.
I'm good.
Except the taste of Diet Cola. Until now, Pepsi Max, the first Diet Cola for men.
This is good. This holiday season, stay close with family and friends using a free phone from U.S. Cellular. From November 27th through November 30th, all phones we carry are free. Choose from smartphones, touchscreen phones, all kinds of phones, including the Samsung Caliber, LG Bliss, LG Banter, and BlackBerry Curve 8330. They're all free, but just for 4 days, so don't wait. They won't be free for long. U.S. Cellular. Believe in something better.
All right, here are just some of the over 1,100 emails that we've received on csnchicago.com, and also those of you that are hitting us with your mobile device at BearsPGL@ComcastSports.com. Can we please have the Honey Bears back so we can have something to watch on the field? That's Mike in Cortland. Elsewhere, Pat chimes in and says, what can be done to improve this team in the offseason? This season is over with. Also, Kenneth, can St. Nick please send us some O-linemen and receivers for Christmas? A lot of people are also chiming in, guys, here on csnchicago.com. What can the Bears do when they don't have a first and a second-round pick in April's draft? What can they do?
Well, you know, the things that we've been talking about, you know, you look at other people's practice squads. There's some guys, obviously, around the league who can come in and help you out. You look at some guys who may be free agents that maybe don't get a look from some other folks. Maybe, you know, if you can, maybe you try to work some kind of a low-level trade. All of these things, you know, you put everything on the table. You don't hold anything back at this point. But here's the other question that, you know, we've been talking about, playing some of the other guys. And when I look at the defense in particular, there's nobody else, I guess, left that we haven't seen, really, is there?
Basically empty out their tank,
and that,
especially
that
linebacker.
in itself is the problem.
Right.
I think we all need to keep in mind, too, think about the collective bargaining agreement. March of 2010, that's when they're having a vote. Hey, there may be a lockout in the NFL. What's going to happen? Big money grab by all the owners, going to slash all the salaries in the NFL. There's going to be a lot of free agents on the street clamoring for work, and you can probably pick them up for some pretty cheap money.
And there's going to be no floor. So the teams that are out there trying to make some money and looking towards a lockout, they try to bank some cash next year and only spend 50, 60, 70 million on a team, bank the 30 million plus, and hold on to it for the following year.
Is that the good news or the bad news?
That's the bad news.
Well, think about this, though. There's going to be some A lot of salary slashing by all these teams. Think about like, Julius Peppers down there in Carolina. They may not want to franchise him again. The guy's making over $1 million a game. He's signed at the franchise tag alone, that's over $17 million. Guess what? Jerry Peterson might say, enough. Boom, cut him, whack him. You got a Pro Bowl player sitting there out on the market. Right. Probably you can sign pretty cheap.
A guy certainly on the hot seat right now is your offensive coordinator of the Bears, Ron Turner. His team goes for 169 total yards of offense, $126 through the air, 43 on the ground. And Jay Cutler with another couple interception contest. That's where Ron Turner begins his postgame remarks.
You know what? I thought he was doing well when he had an opportunity. When he had an opportunity and guys did the right things and all that kind of stuff when he had an opportunity, I thought he was doing a good job.
He had a couple of 4th and inches. Does that kind of sum up the day that you just couldn't quite get what you needed to get?
Yeah, the first one, went to 2 tights, tried to run up in there, came up short, and then we did a quarterback sneak. Didn't execute that very well, and that does kind of sum it up.
Any thinking on the second one when you're down, I think, by 20 points of going for it on 4th and inches?
We thought about it. We thought about it, and just decided not to.
Is this offense putting too much pressure on Jay to get it done? Because you're going to have to take some of his decision-making down with it, and it's sometimes a cost.
Yeah, possibly, and I think that comes with the territory for that. But, we got to play better around him. We got to execute better around him. We get down the red zone, we get a great kickoff return to start the second half, gives us a chance to get back in it. We get down the red zone, run it, don't get anything or lose a yard. And then on second down, we call a pass play, and his primary receiver that he's looking for is not there. He ran the wrong route. And so he's looking for a guy that's supposed to be there that would have been wide open. He's not there. So then, he gets sacked. So it's a matter of us executing better offensively and giving him an opportunity. When we give him an opportunity, he's a hell of a player. But everyone's got to, we got to give him a chance on each and every play. And we didn't do that today.
All right, there's Ron Turner after the 36-10 loss to the Vikings. Here's a look at the Vikings defense on this day. Again, they allowed just the 43 yards on the ground, 8 first downs, and they had 3 takeaways, 4 sacks. They lead the league in sacks. We heard earlier in John Mullen's report where he said that it's his understanding that Jay Cutler does not have a lot of respect for Pep Hamilton. So the way we read into it and the way we look at it is Jay is going strictly to Ron Turner for his tutelage to not only, devise the game plan, but also get better. Jim, in your journeys, at times, there has to be some tough love in those meeting rooms. Yeah. And Ron is not exactly, the drill sergeant out there that is going to lambaste you after a bad performance. Does Jay need some of that?
I think he needs a little bit of it. I mean, coming from where he's been, Mike Shanahan's no walk in the park. I can tell you that. He's got cameras actually in his meeting rooms. So if players, when they used to fall asleep, he'll find you. And think about even as former offensive coordinator, when you look at Jeremy Bates, who's now at the USC, I was with Jeremy Bates down in Tampa. He's no walk in the park either. There is a lot of tough love at the quarterback spot because, hey, not only are you playing in front of 80,000, there's about 5 million people watching at home. You better be pretty mentally tough, and you better be able to accept criticism to play this position.
Well, in terms of the quarterback coaches that you had, give us a little bit of an idea about the guys and the quality of guys you've had as quarterback coaches and offensive coordinators.
I've had some good ones. Ron Earhart, obviously, when I was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers, every offense in the NFL is through him. He's a legendary coach, 45 years in the NFL, taught me the game offensively and defensively. I played under Dan Reeves, obviously a great offensive mind, and what he did with John Elway. Spent some time with John Gruden, my time here with the Bears again for future coaches like Todd Haley, who was on the staff, and obviously some others we'd like to forget, like Eric Croton, but they're all influential, and obviously Bill Belichick. Just being under Bill Belichick, you want some tough love? I'll tell you what, he'll give you some tough love because he gives it to Tom Brady every morning in our quarterback meeting rooms, and I dealt with it quite a bit myself.
We saw Hunter step up today, Zoom. It's been certainly a tough loss for this defense ever since Brian went down in game 1. But I thought Hunter did a nice job, certainly stripping the ball.
Right.
Unfortunately, he was out of bounds on that one strip, but he may not have all the physical tools that a Brian Urlacher has, but more times than not, he's in the right position.
Yeah, basically, I mean, Hunter is a veteran, you know what I mean? So he's a guy that's reliable. You can count on him. Now, filling those shoes with Brian Urlacher gone is a big responsibility, and most people can't do that. And you understand, and now we see how big Brian Urlacher is and how deeply he is missed. But Hunter basically has gotten in there. He stepped in and played his role.
Things that we were looking for some positives to come out of today. Here's one maybe that you can hang your hat on if you're the defense. Adrian Peterson didn't run wild today. That's about the only thing that didn't happen for the Vikings today. He had 25 rushes for 84 yards, averaged about 3.4 yards per carry. And you know how
that's a good day for the Bears.
Oh, exactly right. You think about what he normally does to the Bears defense. This was a huge day against Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, the injuries, guys. Certainly, Des Clark misses his second straight game with the neck situation. You saw Peanut Tillman on the sidelines. Looked like they were going through the concussion situation. And the NFL has been cracking down on concussions. They will not allow you to go back in a ball game if you have concussion-like symptoms.
And it might be here, from what I understand, just doing serious NFL radio, it might be here in the future. They're going to vote on that. If you get a concussion on Sunday, you may have to sit out one more week. That may be the new ruling in the NFL. Until now, it's if you're cleared to play, you can play the following week. They now may make you sit out one more week.
After about 70 years, they finally came to that conclusion.
Yeah, it's funny because Jiggs got me thinking a little bit about tough love, Pat and Jerry, because, you know, you're talking about all these guys. Charles Tillman goes down, and another guy's got to step in. Ask Dan Jiggets about tough love. Because as an offensive lineman, any position back in the day, guess what? Get in there. Tackle, center, you name it.
Yeah.
You were just expected.
And you didn't play well.
Right.
Coach, come back to, you're never going to play again.
Okay, so if the players receive a concussion and the rule's in effect where they have to sit out at least one game, what if the fans sitting at home are concussed after watching a game? Can they skip next week's game against the Rams?
They'll have to get evaluated, get a baseline on them, and then come back in about 2 weeks.
Spend time with the family, go to the mall, knock out the Christmas shopping, come back the following week against Green Bay. All right, still much more to come here on U.S. Cellular Bears Postgame Live. We'll have more locker room reaction. We'll hear from Lance Briggs, went down with the knee injury. Alex Brown will also stop by. Plus, the guys will give you their MVP from today's contest. As we head to break, here, look at your scores. The rest of the country, certainly alluding to some of the changes that are probably on the horizon for this team. We'll get into some of that coming up. By the way, you can check out more from Steve at doll.com, including his Dollcasts. Lance Briggs left this game with a hyperextended knee, just one sack in this one, a couple of pass deflections. He addressed the media a short time ago after the 36-10 loss.
He's not the only player on the team.
Right.
You know, he's not the only player on the team. Our goal was to win, and that's not what we did. You know, they have Brett Favre, they have Bernard Berry, Sidney Rice. You know, they have a good offensive line. You know, and a hell of a defense. So we weren't effective at all.
What do you guys hold your head on now?
Play ball. You know, you come out here to play football. You know, you don't come out here and not play hard. Come out here, we have 5 games left, come out here to win. So win 5 more games. You know, and whatever happens, you know, whatever, you know, but come out and play ball.
You know, I hope there's a lot of Lance Briggs in that room right now, because that's the attitude you have to have going forward. Mm-hmm. And that's something that, you know, when you take, we talked about it before the break, what the Tennessee Titans have done at 0-6. Now, they made a change. They brought Vince Young in.
A forced change. The owner forced
Bud Adams forced him to do that. Now, what would you do change-wise? How about the offensive line? Would you do some changing? Would you flip Chris Williams over to the left side and give him a shot there?
I personally would, because I don't think Jay Cutler's going to be any more at risk than he already is. You know, a lot of people think, oh, you're going to put your franchise quarterback at risk, but I don't think so.
How much of it, though, you know, and again, I don't disagree with that at all, but I'm wondering how much of it is rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. I mean, is this a question of moving people around, putting them in better positions, or is it a question of the personnel that you have? are not going to be able to get the job done any longer, and you have to find new personnel.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, coming into this season with your safety position the way it was, to me, was one of the biggest missteps for this organization. Al Afalava, if you were counting on a rookie to play one of the most important positions in a Tampa 2 defense, shame on you. So they do need to figure out. They do need to figure out going forward, who can play.
Well, you look at guys like Harris when we had him here. Even Mike Brown was the AFC Defensive Player of the Week a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Sometimes you make decisions that end up for years harming your football team, and those are two that have been haunting this team for some time. Now people say, well, with Mike Brown when he's here, though, he was hurt the last couple of years. He played 15 games last season, played pretty doggone well. And how much do you miss him now?
And probably would have come here for close to the minimum because he loved this team that much.
Yeah, and Chris Harris was actually in town. I had a chance to spend time with him, and he is a guy that just really wanted to play here in Chicago. I mean, he was really liked this organization. He really liked the guys that he was playing with, and that's a guy that they truly missed because he's out there in Carolina, and really playing hard. I think last year he led the NFL in forced fumbles.
Same thing.
Brandon McGowan's another one. Who's a gem. He's the type of guy that would just go up there, and lay everything on the line.
All right, we're going to talk about some changes coming up. What would you do to find a replacement at offensive coordinator if indeed Ron Turner is the odd man out? We've got questions about that right now on csnchicago.com. We'll have those answers for you on the other side. Time for another break here. Coming up in just a bit, the panel will give us their MVPs. Don't forget, it's Mondays. Time for Lou. Go and says this 10-1 Vikings team should be playing deep into the winter.
They see blood in the water and they go get it. So they're a good team. They're a very good team, and we get to play them again in a few weeks, maybe 3 weeks or so, and hopefully we can play better at home. And we have 5 games left, so we gotta prove at least to ourselves that we can play better than we played today.
Is the plan really to slow down Peterson first and make
that's always the case. I mean, you always want to stop the run, so make sure the team can run. And I think they got a reverse or something to Percy, but for the most part, I mean, they didn't run the ball, I don't think very well. I haven't looked at the stats or anything, but Brett Favre, it's weird, but when you go into a game and you want to stop Adrian and you want to say, we'll take our chances and see if Brett Favre can beat us, and he did. I mean, he threw for a bunch of yards today. He threw for some touchdowns. So, I mean, he's good. He's a Hall of Famer, and they got a good team. That's a good team out there.
Alex,
how hard is it to get into a flow when you guys get guys coming in and out of the game with injuries like you guys had today?
That sucks. I mean, it's just a part of the game, though. So you just kind of. It's not like it just happened, but we've been playing this game for a long time, so if injuries happen, you just kind of adjust and keep going.
How are you?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'll check it out and see, and I'm pretty sure Coach Smith will tell you guys about it here soon, but I don't know. Hurts.
Where do you guys go from here? Got 5 games left.
That's what we do. We play St. Louis next week. So we go back. We come in tomorrow. We try to correct some of the things we did wrong in this game, and hopefully we can play a little better against St. Louis and try to get a win. That's what we're going to do.
Frustrated Alex Brown after the Vikings rack up 537 yards of offense. You can catch Alex. You can catch.
Are 30% less than the airport. Even battery jumps and flat tire changes are free. That's a big savings and peace of mind. You'll feel very wise. Log on to MidwayParkRideandFly.com.
Thanks to the over 1,200 that have emailed so far at csnchicago.com. Just like Chris in Chicago, he wants to know who's an up-and-coming offensive coordinator that could be hired, seeing as there might be some changes there at Hallis Hall. What do you have for us, Jim, on that topic?
Well, I think one I threw out earlier, Jeremy Bates. Jeremy Bates was under John Gruden down in Tampa as a quarterbacks coach, receivers coach, then moved on to the Denver Broncos last year. We saw how Jay Cutler played over 4,000 yards. Now is the offensive coordinator of USC. Very young up-and-comer, bright mind, and has a lot of good football in his future. How about Kyle Shanahan, currently the offensive coordinator of the Houston Texans? Look what that guy's doing. They've got no tight end. Sure, they got Andre Johnson. I'm not going to lie. He's good. No running game. but look how he's developed a young Matt Schaub as a quarterback. Keep your eye on him. You have to bring him here, give him a different title, but he still would be your offense coordinator. Brian Schottenheimer of the New York Jets. These are guys under some legendary coaches, but Brian Schottenheimer doing a good job with the Jets. Even though Mark Sanchez has struggled, they can run the football.
We all expect Charlie Weiss to be let go in South Bend in the hours and days to come here as head coach of Notre Dame. Will he land right away as an offensive coordinator or some sort of title in that arena in the National Football League? And would you want him here in Chicago?
Oh, yeah, I guess number one, whether he lands or not is going to be dependent upon, first of all, he has to be released from his deal.
That's going to happen.
But the buyout situation, you know, what that entails now, you know, whether or not you have to, you know, if you get involved with another opportunity, is that taken off the Notre Dame deal or not? Those things become important too, because he's making a hunk of money down there.
Certainly is. Now time for our Monsters of the Midway, presented by Mike Ditka Wines, otherwise known as the Bears MVP. And for that, we start with Jerry Azuma.
Well, I'm just going to go with solid gold. I mean, he has always been solid. He's been clutch in every single basically in every single game with kicking field goals. He came through again, kicked a solid field goal, and he kicked a very solid extra point. So he's my guy.
Yeah, well, rightfully so. There's a reason there. I'll go with Hunter Hillemeyer, linebacker. 9 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, had a pass defense. Thought he did a good job. That's what you have to do against Adrian Peterson. Stand him up, swat the ball away. He did it twice today. Unfortunately, the Bears couldn't capitalize.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with Robbie Gould as well because, you know, he's so consistent. Hunter did have a good football game today, though, but I'm going to go with Robbie.
I could have gone with Brad Maynard because he had a really nice punt inside the 5-yard line there.
Exactly right. Yep.
I am going with Hunter Hillemeyer as well, the 9 tackles, leading the way for the Bears on this day. Coming up after one final break, we'll have the results to our poll question. What area of the Vikings would you like to steal?